where, the administration got crime to drop by some 40% rapidly. It shows that they have the know-how. They are equipped now to continue on the same path, and that's a beautiful thing, because every life saved is not just another person. It could be another prime minister. It could be another entrepreneur, someone who can add value to Jamaica in the next phase of where Jamaica is going as well. So it's a possible future leader as well.
Fantastic. Well, Harry, we're live on YouTube. You want to welcome those joining?
Always, neighbor. Go ahead, Caroline.
Where you go? 1 second, please. Neighbor, is that where you will be? Right there?
Right here, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. All right. Listeners, please go over to YouTube to the Hello Neighbor show. Look for the one that has neighbor's face, and please subscribe and watch the show from there. If not, if you don't want to go to YouTube, you can watch it right from here. So if you're going to be watching the show from right here, please repost the live and please tap the screen and share the live. Okay, neighbor, go ahead.
All right, Harry, YouTube is live.
All right, YouTubers, it's always good to have you guys. I see the numbers increasing. Maybe we'll have an announcement,
What's the announcement?
It's a bittersweet for them. So I'm happy to see that we're 5 away from the 1,000 subscribers.
Wow, we'll do that tonight, definitely.
Yes, neighbor. But the bitter part of it is that they won't see my face tonight because they didn't reach 1,000 before the show.
Well, I'm sure they'll do that tomorrow.
Definitely, I know they will leave. But thanks, YouTubers. It's great to see the numbers coming out, going up as well as we speak. As the chef in here saying 2. Okay. Now, I welcome each and every one, taking the time out to come here tonight to get the information, to be a part of the Neighbor Right show, and to be a neighbor right. The commitment each night is lovely, and I love the support that's coming out even more. So I just want to say, sit back, relax, enjoy the program, interact with us in the chat, right? Don't afraid to say anything, make a comment, anything that you want to do. And of course, you can always call into the program. So we look forward to having a great time with you guys tonight, just like any other night, if not more, and if not better.
All right. So let's turn the pages of the notes, and we'll hope you will hang on with us, Harry, and talk to you later.
Definitely, neighbor.
Okay, great. So the People's National Party's threat to litigate the National Reconstruction and Resilience Bill, NaRRA, is a betrayal of the Jamaican people. And I say the People's National Party because Isaac Buchanan, the member from East Portland, on an interview suggested that the PNP will, if they do not get their way in Parliament tomorrow, litigate NaRRA. And I think that's a betrayal of the people of Jamaica. I will tell you this, that the people of Jamaica have been very kind to the People's National Party Union. Kinder than they have been to the Jamaica Labour Party. The people of Jamaica gave the People's National Party 4 consecutive terms in office. 4. So far, they have given the Jamaica Labour Party only 3. The degree of political loyalty is unmatched in Jamaica's history. The loyalty of the Jamaican people to the PNP. And therefore, by weaponizing the courts to delay post-Melissa reconstruction, the PNP abandons its duty as opposition converts national crisis into partisan strategy and exposes a pathetic politics of ingratitude that prioritizes the party's survival over the country's recovery. The PNP is being ungrateful. Ungrateful. And if you're a comrade listening to me tonight, you ought to be disappointed with your party. I suspect that the PNP is suing their way out of relevance. Go ahead with your suit. You want to sue? Sue. Take it to court. You know, people go to court when rights are violated. What right is violated here? People go to court when justice is denied, when there is no other remedy. You go to court. Litigation is the last resort. The last resort to the powerless. So I have one question tonight. Why is the People's National Party threatening to drag Jamaica's Reconstruction into the court? Let me ask it again. Why is the People's National Party threatening to drag Jamaica's Reconstruction into the court? Let's be clear. What we're talking about is a hurricane that left us with a 12.2 billion US dollars damage. And the government appropriately responds with NaRRA, the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, backed by a $6.7 billion in financing. It's the biggest recovery package we have ever seen. Roads, schools, hospitals, sea defenses. The kind of rebuilding that determines whether the next generation inherits a country or a ruin. The students in school today, what will they inherit? High school students, primary school students, even students in kindergarten. What are they going to be inherit? And what is the PNP's answer? What is the PNP's answer? See you in court. The PNP is telling Jamaica's young people, see you in court. PNP is telling the old man that don't have a roof over his head, see you in court. PNP is telling the lady with the tarp over her head, see you in court. But why do people go to court? People go to court to adjudicate disputes when dialogue fails, to protect the citizens from the state, to settle rights, not to stall rebuilding. You go to court to settle rights. You don't go to court to stall rebuilding. That threat is inappropriate. It should have never come. Should have never come. And whether the PNP go to court or not, the fact that they were considering it delegitimize their position as an opposition. Because NaRRA is not denying anyone's rights. NaRRA is building houses. So when the PNP threatens litigation, they're not defending the Constitution, you know. This is not a defense of the Constitution. There are no constitutional breach in Reconstruction. As a matter of fact, I would argue that if some of our rights ought to be suspended in this process of Reconstruction, then that would be okay. Our rights were suspended under COVID. We were okay. At a time of national disaster, what about rights? The dead have rights. So when the PNP threatens litigation, they are not defending the Constitution. They are abusing it. They are turning the judiciary into a filibuster. And every week this spends in court is a week a community doesn't get its bridge. A week a child goes to school in a damaged classroom. That isn't oversight. That's obstruction dressed up in legal robes. Suing your way into irrelevance. Because after this, there's no coming back for the PNP. If they go to court with this matter, that party is politically dead. And I hope the people of Jamaica would make sure that happens. If any litigation takes place as far as it relates to Jamaica's constitution, then we see our way with the PNP. You can't sue Reconstruction. That's absurd. That's wrong. NaRRA is not denying anyone's rights. It is building houses. Now let's talk about loyalty. Let's talk about loyalty. This country has been kinder to the PNP than any political movement in our history. There was one time when it was said that it was PNP country. When I was a boy, it was almost natural to want to support the People's National Party. PNP country, them said. I didn't even understand what that meant. But somehow the people of Jamaica love PNP. 4 straight election victories. 1989, 1993, 1997, 2002. 18 and a half uninterrupted years. The Jamaican people gave the PNP 18 and a half uninterrupted years. Jamaica gave the PNP. I want to say that again. Jamaicans have been loyal to the People's National Party. The Jamaican people gave the PNP power, trust, and time more than any they have given to the Jamaica Labour Party. And some would argue that the Jamaica Labour Party have done more for Jamaica than the PNP. Yet the PNP have been given more time. That loyalty created an obligation. The obligation of an opposition is to be an alternative government, not an alternative wrecking crew. And at the exact moment when Jamaica is broken and needs both parties pulling in one direction, the PNP chooses to threaten, to sue. They are disloyal to Jamaica. if they take this matter to court, Jamaicans are to ensure that they never recover politically. I hear Mr. Dorland this morning threatening protests. Well, I'm for peaceful protests too. This NaRRA matter must not go to court. Jamaica needs to stand up. And we need to lead a movement, a powerful movement that says to the People's National Party, we will not put our reconstruction in the court. We're not putting reconstruction in any court. Let us improve the bill. If the bill is to be improved, let's improve it. If it is to be amended, we amend it. The PNP don't want to improve it, they want to stop it, to delay it. After all, this country gave them their first instinct. After all, Jamaica gave to you your first instinct in a national emergency is to reach for an injunction. That isn't politics. That is ingratitude. The People's National Party has been ungrateful. They're not only hypocritical, they are ungracious. It's an ungracious party. The people of Jamaica gave you 18 and a half years. And now Jamaica need you. And what are you doing to Jamaica? Taking our reconstruction to the court. Now, if that is not political betrayal, I don't know what it is. It's an affrontery to the political process in Jamaica. And they ought to be ashamed of themselves. If you're just joining us, welcome. Welcome to you on TikTok. Welcome to you on YouTube. Welcome to the Hello Neighbor show. We're into the neighbor's notes. And we're talking about how the PNP is suing our reconstruction. And here is why it is pathetic. Here's why it's pathetic. The PNP's theory is obvious. If NaRRA works, the government wins. It's pathetic, you know. If NaRRA works, the government wins. Visible reconstruction kills the time for change argument or time come argument. So the strategy becomes, if we can't take credit, make sure nobody gets credit. Drag it to court. Run out the clock. Bet that voters will blame the Jamaica Labour Party for slow recovery, not the PNP for slow litigation. I hope people of Jamaica open their eyes. Open their eyes. Chuck Finley today told me that when Fitzjackson brought the banking, the bill about banking to court, to Parliament, and the Labour Party voted against it, the PNP put up all of them picture in a full-page ad in the Gleaner. And I hope that if the Jamaica Labour Party, if any PNP member who vote against NaRRA tomorrow, take out ads in the paper and show the Jamaican people, the hypocrite them, the disloyal them, the unpatriotic ones. Put it out in the Gleaner and the Observer. Take out advertisement on TVG and CBM. Any parliamentarian that votes against the reconstruction is a betrayer and don't deserve to continue sitting in the parliament. Run out the clock. Bet that voters will blame the Jamaica Labour Party But that's a bankrupt philosophy, comrades. Pathetic, because it confuses the party's interests with the people's interests. Pathetic. You are pathetic because it assumes that Jamaicans are too stupid to see who is building and who is billing hours. One party is building, the other is billing hours. Pathetic, because after 3 straight defeats, the lesson the PNP took wasn't we need better ideas. The lesson was we need better ways to stop their ideas. Pathetic. You're a pathetic set. Because rather than putting better ideas on the table, you are trying to stop the ideas that the people voted for. You don't sue your way back to relevance. You don't sue your way back to power. You serve your way back to power. You hear that, comrades? You don't sue your way back to power. You serve your way back to power. And here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line. The role of an opposition is to oppose bad government, not to oppose government itself. There's a distinction there that I hope you get. The courts exist to protect the people from power, not to protect a party from losing power. The courts exist to protect the people from power. It does not exist to protect the People's National Party from losing power. Jamaica gave the PNP everything. Jamaica gave the PNP time. Jamaica gave the PNP trust. Mandate after mandate. And now when Jamaica asks one thing of the PNP, Jamaica asks the PNP one thing. Help us rebuild. Help us. The PNP's answer is, see you in court. Westmoreland, did you hear that? St. James, did you hear that? St. Elizabeth, did you hear that? Trelawney, have you heard? Manchester, did you hear that? Clarendon, St. Catherine, and all the 14 parishes of Jamaica. It's a slap in your face. See you in court, is what the PNP has said to you as far as your reconstruction is concerned. It's bad strategy. It's disloyalty. And the people see it because the people of Jamaica have always known the difference between party and politics, and a party that fights for them and a party that fights to stop things for them. Now, I'm not saying don't criticize NaRRA. I'm not saying don't criticize NaRRA. Criticize it. Amend it. Make it better. But don't sue it to death while the people are waiting on roofs. That's not opposition. That's an abdication. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Please like and share. Tell your friends about the channel. And we hope you'll join us here Mondays to Fridays, 7 o'clock, as we have this conversation that matter. I want to read to you a letter that a comrade wrote to the PNP. To the People's National Party from the people waiting on a roof. Listen up, Mr. Golden. Listen up. We are the ones you used to win. We are the districts that gave you 4 straight terms. When the country was tried, we still chose you. When the scandals came, we still defended you. The Traffic Guru scandal, the Shell waiver, the Rawlings land deal, the Cuban light bulb, Prickly Pole school. Scandals after scandals, we still voted for you. You transferred resources from the poor to the rich. The worst in slavery was abolished. We still voted for you. You presided over the greatest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich since slavery was abolished. And we still voted for you. You gave us Mandy, you gave us the Fresh Prince, you gave us Portia, and we voted for you. When you said we are the party of the people, we believed you. 18 years. We gave you our trust longer than we have given any government in history. Comrades, is one of your own writing. Now we are the ones under the blue tarp. We are on the tarp in Westmoreland, constituencies that you presided over for more than 3 decades. We are on the tarps. And when we look at the other constituencies represented by the Jamaica Labour Party, they are less tarps, tarpaulin party. Since Melissa, our children do homework by candlelight. Thanks to Minister Vaz, we now got back our light. Our school roof is gone. Our grandmothers sleep in the kitchen because the bedroom wall collapsed. Our road is a river when it rains. Our clinic is a shell. We bury our dead and then go back to digging out the mud. We hear from the government that there is a US $6.7 billion coming. Roads, houses, seawalls, the kind of money that means somebody finally is going to show up with more than promises, because you only left us with promises. Then we hear your voice, PNP, not in Parliament attending to the bill, not at the town hall telling us how to make it stronger. We hear you on the courthouse steps. We will challenge it. We will seek judicial review. We will take it to court. Court? You want to take our reconstruction to court? Let me ask you again. Did you say court? Did you really say court? Did you really say that you're going to take our reconstruction to court? Let me tell you what court means from where we sit over in Westmoreland. Let me tell you what court means. Let me tell you what court means under this tarpaulin. Court means delay. This tarpaulin is hot, you know. When rain falls, it leaks. Court, you're taking our reconstruction to court. You are threatening to take our reconstruction to court. Court means lawyers talking while rain comes through my ceiling. Court while I'm getting wet. Court while my road is broken. Court. Review committee while rain comes through the ceiling. Court means injunction while the next hurricane season gets closer. We're in the month of April. Court means you found a way to stop the bulldozers without ever having to build anything yourself. What did you build? And you threaten our reconstruction with court. Court means delay. Court means lawyers talking while rain comes through the ceiling. We know why people go to court. When the police beat you, you go to court. When the landlord locks you out, you go to court. When the government takes your land, you go to court. Court is for the powerless against the powerful. It is the powerless that goes to the powerless who take the powerful to court. But you're not powerless. You are the opposition. You have seats. You have microphones. You have 18 years of our loyalty in your pocket, and you are telling us that the only power you have left is to sue the help. You're going to sue the help away. You are going to sue the help away. You know, we remember when you were in government. We remember you telling us that politics is about the people. We remember Portia. We remember PJ saying we will rebuild together. Together? Where is together now? You lost 3 elections. We get it. It hurts. But we didn't send you to Parliament to nurse your loss. We didn't send you there to nurse your loss. We sent you there to fight for us. And fighting for us in 2026 doesn't look like a lawsuit. It looks like amendments. It looks like oversight committees, which should be brief. It looks like you're standing up and saying, make sure St. Thomas gets its bridge first, or put them housing money in Portland before the tourism corridor. That's what together means. That's what an alternative government does. A party waiting to lead doesn't burn down the fire truck because it doesn't like who is driving. And that's what you're doing. Burning down the fire truck because you don't like the driver. It's the driver you don't like, or is the truck? It's pathetic, you know. It's pathetic. Pathetic is watching us wait and deciding your best strategy is to make us wait longer. So we blame the other man. Pathetic is thinking we can't see the difference between protecting democracy and protecting your chance to win the next election. You are pathetic. You set of comrades. Pathetic. You're pathetic. We gave you everything. All we asked in return was that when disaster comes, you'd still be the party of the people. Instead, you became the party of the process, the party of the courthouse, the party that would rather see nothing built than see the other side get the credit for building it. You are pathetic. So here is our response. PNP. This response is from the people under the tarp. The people under the tarp. The hot tarp, where their roads are washed away. Their bridges have been washed away. The people under the tarp we're speaking up for. Go down to the parliament tomorrow and vote for that bill. Don't sue our recovery. Don't litigate our roofs. Don't use the law to make us wait one more rainy season. The rains are coming. The rains are coming. Will you litigate while we wet? You know, sister, we are catch cold. You know, sister, we are suffer. Are you heartless? You want to come back? Come back by helping. Don't come back by suing. If you want to help, don't help by suing. If you want to lead again, lead now. Lead in opposition. Show us that you can make NaRRA better. Show us that you can make it faster. Show us you remember why we voted for you 4 times in a row. Because if your first instinct when help arrives is to call your lawyer, don't be surprised. Watch me now. Don't be surprised when our first instinct at the next election is to remember who left us waiting. We were loyal to you. Be loyal to us. From the suffering people waiting on NaRRA to pass tomorrow. Suffering people, pass NaRRA tomorrow. Not next week, tomorrow. We will not allow anyone to sue Jamaica's Reconstruction. The People's National Party's threat to litigate the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority Bill is a betrayal of the Jamaican people. A betrayal. And me say so. Isaac Buchanan said that he's going to be the first one. The PNP don't get them way tomorrow to take the matter to court. It's a betrayal of the Jamaican people. The same suffering people that gave them 4 consecutive electoral mandates and a degree of political loyalty never seen in Jamaica's history. weaponizing the courts to delay post-Melissa reconstruction, the PNP abandons its duty as opposition, converts national crisis into partisan strategy, and exposes a pathetic politics of ingratitude that prioritizes the party's survival over the country's recovery. Let me bring this to a close. You're suing the poor people of Jamaica. People go to court when rights are violated, when justice is denied, when there is no other remedy. Litigation is a last resort of the powerless. So I close with the question that I asked at the start. Why is the People's National Party threatening to drag Jamaica's reconstruction to court? I want to thank you. I want to thank you for staying tuned to the pages of the notes tonight. Join me again tomorrow when I will go back to the pages of the notebook and see what is there. It's 8 minutes after 8 o'clock, and let's go over to Harry. Good evening to you, Harry.
Good evening, neighbor.
Yeah, Harry, you can take it from there and help us to see what your side of it.
Well, my side is a very interesting one in a neighbor. It's a serious matter at hand.
Yes.
And I think people need to get with what time it is. They need to know that this is the future of Jamaica. There is not another time like this in Jamaica's history. And we are sure as to what is in front of us. So we can't technically give up sure if we're unsure. And we can't also allow the interest of a party to take precedence over the priorities and the right of a nation. And the right is for everyone who has been affected. That right stands in the frame tonight to say, this is the new Jamaica. This is how that new Jamaica will be created. And this is what the people require. This is a necessity, right? It is not a time for us to get a pullback, for us to be thwarted by the agenda of an opposition, right? And you said it best, neighbor. When you look at the delay of this bill to become legislation, what it costs, because the cost is not so much about the money, but the impact that it's having on the people currently who are in the situation. The opposition speaks into say that the people are suffering and they need roof, but they are the ones who are delaying the right of those people, the right to shelter, the right to have a proper life, the right to pick themselves up and step into the new frame and the new framework of Jamaica, to contribute to it. That is the right in which the opposition is removing from the people, that is suffocating it, something they've done for 18 and a half years. That is something they're now trying to do and hide it behind this movement of saying they are standing for the people. They aren't standing for the people. This is a continuation of what we saw with Melissa when they fought the JPS receiving the loan, right? If we realize they have not said anything about it, no. But the people are thankful, they're happy that they received that help from the government. That right to light, that right to pick up, that right to start moving forward in any shape or form that is required. And this is what the opposition is almost putting a rope around and pulling. It's not a time where we should allow a tug of war in parliament with this. And if the people of Jamaica are as serious as they say they are when it comes on to wanting Jamaica to step into a new light, into the first phase or second phase of going to a first world status, to get that growth that has always been a potential. This is a machinery that will allow the people of Jamaica to not just see potential anymore, but to realize it.
Yes.
There's something we call realized gain in the financial world, labor, where you can see all of this, gain and so on. But if you don't take it, if you don't act on it, then it is called unrealized. We're in that phase now where we see for ourselves. We have the vision, we have the imagery as to what Jamaica can become. That is unrealized until we get and take the necessary action to start put words aside and start to take the necessary action going forward to implement things, right, to get NaRRA where it ought to be. Then all we're left with is unrealized and what ifs. This is not the moment to be indecisive. The people of Jamaica, if they're so serious, it's not time for bug-a-mouth. It's not time to be tweeting and to be, what the young people call neighbor social media badness, where everybody have an opinion, everybody can have a say, but nobody is stepping to the forefront to take accountability and put pressure where pressure needs to be applied. And right now, the pressure needs to be applied on the opposition to back down and to step aside if they aren't stepping up to the table. Because right now, they're not even having a conversation at the table in the interest of the people. And as such, they should be booted out of the room if they can't put and make proper recommendation without it coming at the expense. And the expense here is the delay, is the frustration of a due process, right? It is still putting their party's agenda, the party's pretty much their manifesto, not the one that they run within 2025, but to bring forth the manifestation as to get that control of the power that they're so desperate to get, right? It's not time for that. They said they're not playing politics when it comes on to this bill. But if they're not playing politics with the bill, right, why have they not consulted the people? Why have they also not put the people first? It is one in which you have to treat expeditiously. And you also have to ensure that you, no matter what comes, you put the people first at all costs, neighbor. That is what this bill is about. This is the present and the future of Jamaica. I said it before. We'll probably never ever have a package like this being granted to a country like Jamaica, to a small member state. There has never been one at this stance, right? We are setting a precedent. Our people are now becoming a landmark, are now the ones being studied, and this is how you turn up for the very people who you have said, this is for the opposition, who have said their best resource is the human resource, and you are delaying that resource. You are prohibiting that resource from advancing, from being able to equip themselves to drive the country forward. That is what it is now. And make no mistake about it, that this opposition will continue by the nook or any nook and cranny they'll go for it, neighbor. Right? They will continue on this trajectory. But it is up to the people of Jamaica. If you want to take to the streets, you take to the streets. If you want to get certain interviews out there, let your voice be heard. Let your stance be seen. Because this is not about who is the government and who is the opposition. This bill is about a nation that has suffered, that has been have been unable to realize its potential. We don't need the likes of oil to get Jamaica where we ought to be. You see how everybody jump up regarding the good news with oil, neighbor?
Yes.
As it stands right now, NaRRA is our oil.
Yes.
Because NaRRA empowers the biggest resource we can ever have, and that's the people.
Yes.
No other resource in this world is more powerful than its people. And I'm happy we always draw on the example of Singapore. They had nothing but themselves. This is an administration led by Andrew Holness, who is seeing the need to empower its people more than ever before. They have done it. They've gone about their way for the last decade in advancing that very resource. They've created jobs with the very little that they had. Now we're getting a boost, a catalyst to our people, to our potential, to our realization, but also a catalyst to a systematic change in framework, a systematic change in how we do business, how we govern ourselves, and how we think. It is by no mistake the World Bank said it's in Jamaica currently are world thinking and world leading set of people, neighbor. It is no coincidence that it is within this term of the country not just being stable, but advancing, and we're seeing Jamaica being recognized for things we've never been seen on this grand scale before. And this is a time in which this $6.7 billion package will boost us even further to say we can now not become just another country neighbor, but to stamp our feet on the global scale. Despite our size, the saying goes, we're little but we're taller. This NaRRA bill empowers that saying. This is the push behind Jamaica realizing their potential once and for all. And that is what the opposition is fighting against. So that they can have this government, quote unquote, fail so that they may seem like they're savers.
Yeah.
You aren't a savior if you ruin a country because you can't advance and you can't step up to the plate. You can't meet the standard of where Jamaica is right now. And as such, you want to bring it down in order to look as if you are better than you aren't. And the opposition need to understand what the people have said to them on September 3rd. You are better in opposition and not leadership.
Fantastic. Okay, great commentary, Harry. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Hello Neighbor show. We're live on YouTube, and of course, we're streaming live also on TikTok. We're on Patreon, and you can find this also on Facebook. Maybe clippings of the show. We're going to be joined now by Scratchy. He's live out of Canada. Good evening to you, Scratchy.
Good night, neighbor. Good night, neighbor. Caroline, Ari, and the viewers and everyone on all the different platforms. Blessed night, everyone.
Fantastic. Well, Scratchy, the NaRRA bill is expected to go to Parliament tomorrow. The entire country is speaking about it. The PNP is threatening to sue if they don't have their way. Suing Reconstruction, Scratchy? What type of politics is that?
Neighbor, this has always been the PNP, neighbor. When you look at any other bill, neighbor, might not in total similarity with NaRRA bill, but definitely in terms of that to do with the similarity in terms of development of Jamaica, neighbor. The PNP has fight all of those bills, neighbor. The PNP push back against all of those bills, you know. And when you look at the NaRRA bill now, neighbor, NaRRA bill never being the most consequential bill as Prime Minister and as a lot of us will attest to that and say yes. NaRRA is not the silver spoon, and it's not the blessing, and it's not going to fix Jamaica all, neighbor. But Jamaica has been suffering from something that they call social decay for so many years now.
Yes.
NaRRA will definitely help with that. And I think, neighbor, that one of the main things that we have to look at with, neighbor, I don't think the PNP is 100% just against NaRRA because of NaRRA and the good that NaRRA also brings to Jamaica, neighbor. I think it is also, neighbor, because of the person who's instituting NaRRA, neighbor, the person who conceptualized NaRRA.
In other words, it's not the fire truck, it's the driver.
is the driver, neighbor, that I think they're against, neighbor. And I think the reason why this NaRRA bill is getting so much attack, neighbor, is as a result, neighbor, it was conceptualized by our Prime Minister, neighbor. It is definitely, neighbor, one of the game changers.
So you're saying that it is personal, it is a wholeness attack. Conspired here.
I sense some form of personality coming from it, neighbor. And this is the PNP is definitely, these are human beings, neighbor. These are persons who live and traverse Jamaica every day. They definitely know that Jamaica needs some form of advancement and development. They know that, yes, NaRRA will definitely have to work. But I think, neighbor, coming from a personal standpoint, especially, neighbor, based on the leadership of that political organization, how they view the current Prime Minister, how they belittle him on more than one occasion, you know, based on their level of elitism that they come to the parliament and the government with, neighbor. They don't see him, neighbor, as a Prime Minister, neighbor. He has done so much, neighbor, and they know, neighbor, that NaRRA, neighbor, will be that final icing and cake, neighbor. And NaRRA, neighbor, will erase any form of history that is out there of any form of political leaders on that side, whether they want to name Mike and Manley, whether they want to name PJ Patterson. NaRRA, neighbor, conceptualized by Jamaica alone, neighbor, reach its true potential and reach its objective, neighbor. The PNP will be wiped away from Jamaica's history, neighbor. Nobody can talk about who developed the most house again. Nobody can talk about who did this. They cannot, neighbor. And they are very much afraid of that. And they're going to come, neighbor, and try to use some form of legal grounds to try to block NaRRA, as they have done with the with state of emergency, as they have done with NITS, and as they have done with constitutional reform, as they have done with PNP report will becoming the 15th parish. All of these things have to deal with the advancement and development of Jamaica, and they brought them before the courts. This is what the PNP do. They are anti-development. And the attack that is coming towards NaRRA is coming because of who conceptualized it and who created it, neighbor. And it will definitely go down in our history as our most impactful and the most consequential piece of legislation passed in Jamaica in the last 40 years.
Okay. People go to court, Scratchy, when rights are violated, when justice is denied, when there is no other remedy. Litigation is the last resort of the powerless. Which right is being breached here?
Never. One thing I can say, neighbor, that what we're going to the courts, neighbor, definitely won't help anyone, neighbor. It won't give the PNP any form of advantage. The only person is the last right here, neighbor, are Jamaicans, neighbor. Persons who suffered loss during Hurricane Melissa, persons who even before Melissa, neighbor, were living in sub-living conditions. Those are the persons who are going to suffer, neighbor, if this should go to the court, neighbor. And if the PNP, neighbor, come tomorrow, decide that they are going to bring this to the court, neighbor, the PNP has definitely once again, neighbor, set Jamaica back, set back the development and the advancement of our people, our country, and our whole, neighbor, as they have done time and time after. Neighbor, I can understand, you know, if both organizations cannot see eye to eye, neighbor, from a political standpoint.
Yes.
But whenever you're into God knows, neighbor, it's not about green and it's not about no orange. Whenever it reaches God knows, it's about the Jamaican people and whatever can advance Jamaica when it reaches the parliament, neighbor. So if PNP and Labour right cannot be at any time from a political standpoint, I can understand that. But when it comes to opposition and government, neighbor, the best interest of Jamaicans must be taken at heart. And every single one in that place tomorrow who have a conscience, neighbor, and decide to vote against NaRRA, neighbor, they should know that they vote against the development of Jamaica.
Yes.
And they bar that treason.
Yes.
Treason.
You remember when the PNP took out pictures of the Labour Party people who voted against the banking bill in the paper, and
yes, I remember that,
and call them and tell the Jamaican people to remember. You don't think that anyone who vote against this bill tomorrow should suffer the same fate?
Neighbor, anyone who votes against this bill, neighbor, should never see the light of day to become a member of parliament in any future elections, neighbor. Because voting against NaRRA, neighbor, you have surrendered your right to represent Jamaica in any way, shape, or form. Voting against NaRRA, neighbor, definitely tell us that you are anti-development. Voting against NaRRA, neighbor, will definitely tell us, neighbor, that there were many thousands of Jamaicans who suffered losses as a result of Hurricane Melissa, and want their life to come back within a timely manner. You have set back the clock on those persons. The thousands or millions of Jamaica who have been living in living condition for the past couple of years, and for a very long time now. You are telling them that they're supposed to stay in these dilapidated conditions. You are telling them that they're supposed to live with the rats and the roaches. They're supposed to stay in the slums. That is what voted against NaRRA will be, neighbor, tomorrow. And if the People's National Party bring this to court, neighbor, Jamaica should stand up, Jamaica should rise up peacefully, yes, but Jamaica should send a strong message to the People's National Party and Mark Golding come tomorrow if they try to trample on this bill.
Yeah.
This is the most consequential, this is the most impactful, but no other piece of legislation ever
Yes.
garner any form of attention like this NaRRA one.
Yes.
None.
Yes, and political pressure is building this afternoon, Scratchy, because I see many of the civic society groups coming out to tacitly support the bill. You are suggesting that if the bill is held back tomorrow, that there should be political activism on the ground.
Definitely, neighbor. Oh, not even political activism, neighbor. Anyone who is a well-thinking Jamaican, just a mere fact, neighbor, that you want to see this country advance and move to the level where you think this country should be, neighbor. Once you choose Jamaica, once you love Jamaica, neighbor, you should definitely come out and show some form of rebuttal towards whatever the PNP trying to push back against this bill, neighbor. This bill we cannot afford. We're at a very special time in our lifetime, neighbor. We're at a very turning point right now where if we should miss this mark right now, I can tell you, it's another 30 years of recovery again. If we should ever miss this mark, this is one of the most important times in Jamaica's history, this 2020-26 that we are currently, neighbor. We are very close, neighbor, to reaching a certain level of advancement. And if we don't capitalize and try to jump on the ship from now, it is going to be very sad. We're going to be one of the Caribbean islands with the most impactful culture, with the most impactful music, the most impactful athletes, but from a financial standpoint and a living condition standpoint, we're going to be way off than our neighbors because the People's National Party played politics with our advancement, they played politics with our kids, they played politics with our grandchildren, and they played politics with the infrastructure of Jamaica. For too long, Jamaica has been in a situation, neighbor, where we need a rapid response. Now, I hear a person saying that the bill is going to bypass this and the bill is going to bypass that. Neighbor, that is the whole reason why the bill was created from a legislative standpoint, to give the bill power to bypass these things.
Because the procurement process in Jamaica is very cumbersome.
Neighbor, the procurement process in Jamaica, neighbor, is in the situation that it is in right now, neighbor, as a result, neighbor, of the PNP back in the 90s, neighbor. I know they trampled on government funding, neighbor, or they use government funding to their own advantage, or they use government funding, neighbor, without any form of discretion. That is why our procurement process is like this right now. Because when the PNP was in power, they gave contract without any formal agreement.
Yes.
They gave contract to more verbal agreement than in a written agreement.
Yes.
So that is the reason why our anti-corruption laws are so strong, and that is why our procurement system is like this. No, fast forward from that time till now. If we're going to be honest, government is held way more accountable now than they were in the 90s, neighbor.
And a lot more institutional systems and frameworks are in place.
A lot more institutional systems and framework are now in place, neighbor. So some of the rigidness that surrounds procurement can be set back because we have advanced a lot our accounting system to track money.
Not to mention the Integrity Commission that the MPs have to and all members in Parliament have to disclose their income, their wealth.
Neighbor, the country has advanced so much, neighbor, where these procurement guidelines, neighbor, some of them can be relaxed to a certain level because if they are not caught within the embryo stage, neighbor, it can still be caught once it is in the chalk line and in the process, neighbor, and necessary action can be taken. So free up the process for the advancement of Jamaica, neighbor, our systems, our laws, and our governance and whatever we use must face the reality of our country and our situation, neighbor. And our current procurement guidelines do not meet the reality of our situation right now. It is holding us back. It is setting us back. And that is why NaRRA is being instituted so that the government can be backed by a legislation, some form of laws and govern that they can use, neighbor, to advance the development of Jamaica. The government could have used normal systems, of course, but they choose not to because the normal system will not let us advance in the level of advancement that we want based on the amount of cash at our disposal and based on the timeline that this money should be exposed or spent. We have to move with some form of speed. We produce the fastest money in the world, neighbor. We cannot have the slowest procurement system in the world. That is craziness. We must match that the fact that we're the fastest man in the world. We must get things done fast. And things like this, neighbor, that do with the advancement and development of Jamaica must be done in a fast manner. Yes, it must be all type of integrity and corruption must take place same way. But it must be done within the context, neighbor, that Jamaica is in a situation, neighbor, where our neighbors, where we have bigger impact than on the world, we must impact neighbor. This is a country where we bring in millions of tourists every year to this country, neighbor. And it's a shame to know that the country is in the condition that some part of the country is in and bringing in so many visitors a year time. When you look at Jamaica, neighbor, Jamaica is being set back, neighbor, because what? A lot of these investors feel like there's not enough development from a government standpoint, neighbor. That's why investors don't want to come up and start anything from scratch. When you look at the internet connection across broadband, internet connection across the country and stuff like that. That is why a lot of these places are so dilapidated and set back. You cannot put internet in these places they're still around and I don't want to say anything, I don't want to discriminate where anyone lives. But everyone knows the condition what I'm talking about. The country of the development, neighbor. And we need NaRRA. We need NaRRA more than anything else. NaRRA is the advancement, as Barry said. NaRRA is our aisle. NaRRA is our advancement. NaRRA is what is going to let our grandkids and our children can be proud to call themselves Jamaican. I'll be proud to say I come from this parish without us to feel embarrassed or feel ashamed to say I come from this parish because of how setback your parish is.
Let me take you, Scratchy, to the history, because I said earlier that the people of Jamaica have been very loyal to the People's National Party. And a loyalty that needs to be explored, and I promise I'll explore that with my listeners in the coming. But 4 consecutive election win the people of Jamaica gave the PNP, even when they were riddled with scandals, they were barely doing anything. The people of Jamaica stuck with them. Why is the PNP treating Jamaica like this? Isn't this loyalty?
I want to tell you something, neighbor.
Tell me.
If I attain my wealth, neighbor, through foul play, neighbor, with alleged foul plays, neighbor, for government at the time, if I neighbor, as a private citizen at the time, neighbor, to my position as advisor to whatever government minister or government agency, neighbor, I use my inside knowledge and use my authority and my link, neighbor, to enrich myself, neighbor. And now, neighbor, the tables have turned, neighbor, where I am on the other end. I am now in government, neighbor. Every single thing, neighbor, that has to do with any form of spending of money, neighbor, I am going to rebut it because, I have taken my wealth to that way at the forefront in my forehead. As to how government operate, but not realizing, neighbor, that whatever way how government operate, how you operate, how you get on your way through government, neighbor, that is not how government operate. That was just how the government that you were associated with operate.
Yes.
So, it is very hard, neighbor. It's very difficult, neighbor, for the current leadership of the PNP, neighbor, to say anything, neighbor, from a straight standpoint, neighbor, because they understand how the system works, neighbor. There are persons in that organization who knew how they got their wealth, neighbor, to corrupt ways through government, neighbor, by manipulating, neighbor, and profiting of whatever inside information, whoever connection and links they have to government, neighbor. So every single thing that is done by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Somebody's saying that thief, no left say thief carry long bag, but I don't know who they're calling thief here.
Exactly. So everything that they see right now, neighbor, they only can see, neighbor, their own situation, neighbor, and reminiscing on, neighbor, how they garner their wealth, neighbor, and think that is the situation that is being taking place right now. Without realizing that we have a government who cares more for the advancement of Jamaica and Jamaicans than any other thing.
Yes, and finally, Scratchy, the fact of the matter is that it would be a betrayal, would it not be, of a party that has been part of our democracy since 1962 to take our reconstruction to court. It's pathetic. It's pathetic to even think about that, Scratchy.
Yeah, but it's definitely pathetic, neighbor. You know that within a country, neighbor, that lacks social development, neighbor, we have managed to garner the funding, whether through loans and grants, neighbor. We have managed to garner the funding.
Yes.
And that has normally been the hardest thing, neighbor, to get the funding, you know.
Yes.
So the funding has always been the hardest thing. And we, neighbor, managed to get the funding, neighbor. And it's such a shame and embarrassment, neighbor, to know that it is us, neighbor, our same Jamaicans, neighbor, who are holding back the project now, neighbor. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Normally they say,
yeah, and it's 6 months into the disaster, Scratchy. We're almost near to another hurricane season, you know, and we are there chatting about whether we must pass the bill.
Neighbor, when you look at what is really going on, I have to really wonder, neighbor, why are we questioning this bill? Tomorrow, neighbor, I would expect right now that the leader of government business, neighbor, the leader of opposition business is in some form of negotiation, neighbor. Because you see me personally, neighbor, I don't share the sentiment as some of the labor rights might share and saying that we don't want to take nothing from the PNP. We don't want them to give an amendment because we don't want them to say who pass the bill or who don't pass the bill. Neighbor, I don't care about any amendments come tomorrow, neighbor. I want to know that NaRRA is passed, neighbor. Because whenever NaRRA is passed, and you look up who passed NaRRA, it's going to be said that NaRRA was passed in 2026 by the Jamaica Labour Party. It's not going to tell us that two amendments was made by Mark Golding and one by Damien Crawford. It won't have that. The bill was conceptualized, the bill was created by the Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor. And come tomorrow, neighbor. I know the Prime Minister, neighbor. The Prime Minister said the bill was not in his own words, neighbor. But I think the Prime Minister said that yes, he knew that the bill wasn't perfect, neighbor. So I expect, neighbor, that certain concerns that Jamaicans might share, neighbor. I expect it to be sealed up, neighbor. I expect a very long parliament tomorrow as well, neighbor, because the Prime Minister will definitely trying to prove his point, neighbor. And I definitely expect some form of amendment, but not amendment to a certain degree where the PNP expect, neighbor. I just expect amendment, neighbor, in terms of, because I believe the PNP are a problem with the wording. So I think the Prime Minister need to make it as much detail so that they can understand. But I expect some amendment, neighbor, and I would hope, neighbor, that the bill will be passed tomorrow, neighbor, because a bill like this, neighbor, as important as NaRRA is, neighbor, it is much more important if NaRRA should have bipartisan support, neighbor, in the voting process, neighbor. That will send a stronger message towards the advancement and the development of Jamaica. But I expect the bill.
But Scratchy, the opposition is wanting the bill to go to committee, and committee is going to further delay the bill. I think we have to. Can't they have some negotiation behind the scene to work through the differences here?
That's how government normally operate, neighbor. That's how government and opposition normally operate, neighbor. You have a leader of opposition business, you have a leader of government business, neighbor. These persons can definitely forward. These persons definitely have a communication channel, neighbor. They can use these communication channels, neighbor, behind the scene. So that come tomorrow, neighbor, in front of Jamaicans, neighbor, we don't seem divided. I expect, neighbor, that some form of behind the scene communication is being done between these two officers or these two gentlemen, neighbor, from a opposing party. I expect, neighbor, that some form of agreement is trying to reach, neighbor. Some give and take or something might be going on behind the scene, because I know how the Prime Minister think, neighbor, and the Prime Minister, neighbor, we definitely, neighbor, want NaRRA to be passed tomorrow for the best interest of Jamaicans than to know that he pushed to a certain level and then the PNP, neighbor, bring it to court, neighbor, and try to tie it up. The bill can still be passed tomorrow, neighbor, with bipartisan support. I expect, neighbor, that some commitment can be given by the government that yes, we're going to still pass the bill tomorrow, but even though the bill passed tomorrow, 1 month or 2 months later, we will make the necessary amendments, but for the time being, let us pass the bill and then we can talk behind the scenes more and the amendments going forward. And a month we'll come back to our parliament to amend it at the NaRRA bill for 2026. I see what basically, neighbor, yeah. But some formality has to be done, neighbor. I don't think that any of these sides, neighbor, want to come tomorrow with any chaos and any war in the parliament. But the opposition that we have, neighbor, is a very combative one, it's a very informal one, it's a very political one, neighbor. Anything is expected from them. Okay. Listen to this news report.
In a joint statement led by human rights lobby group Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, and Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, on Monday, the groups say despite issues raised by various stakeholders, the government has shown no signs of addressing the raft of concerns expressed by various stakeholders about NaRRA. JFJ and JET say they formally submitted detailed concerns and recommendations to the Office of the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition on March 30. In their joint submission, JET and JFJ highlighted several critical concerns with the bill in its current form. These include the highly centralized CEO-driven structure with insufficient independent oversight and weak provisions for transparency, accountability, and public participation. The submission also expressed worry about what it says is the absence of a clearly defined governing board with delineated responsibilities and inadequate safeguards to ensure long-term resilience, environmental protection, and public trust. It adds that to date, No response has been received from the Office of the Prime Minister, leaving uncertainty as to whether these submissions are being meaningfully considered in the parliamentary process. The statement highlights commentary in the media, as well as statements from the Incorporated Master Builders Association of Jamaica, West Central St. James MP Marlene Malahoo Fort of the JLP, and several members of the opposition as instances in which concerns were raised about NaRRA. The group says despite the range of perspectives, the tone of the government's side of the debate appears more focused on defending the bill than constructively addressing legitimate critique and alternative proposals. In light of these shortcomings, the groups are calling for the immediate convening of a genuine multi-stakeholder dialogue. They want the written submissions from all relevant stakeholder groups to be accepted within the next 2 weeks, followed by structured discussions over 1 to 2 days to fully interrogate the issues raised. The groups say if this does not happen, the government should instead follow Opposition Leader Mark Golding's suggestion of establishing a joint select committee with deliberations and recommendations completed within 6 weeks. They note that while they recognize the urgency of advancing legislation to support post-Hurricane Melissa reconstruction and long-term national resilience, expediency must not come at the expense of good governance. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Right.
In a joint statement led by human rights lobby.
Okay, thanks to Nationwide, Mahiri Stewart for that report. Scratchy, not a lot of support coming from the civic society groups. They are basically leaning towards joint select and further delay. What's happening here?
I mean, a lot of these civil society groups, we know where they lead, One of the reasons why, we have to put things in context, One of the reasons why the PNP, wants this bill, to go to a joint select committee. Yes, it will draw the time frame of the bill, But when you talk about joint select committees, that is where a lot of these civil society groups, now can pose their questions, where the government now will have to directly answer them, in terms of that, We know, that a lot of these groups and these personnel, they support the People's National Party. This is why, if you listen to JFJ's speech a while ago, I was going to tell you that it's definitely a copy. It's a copy. That sounds straight. That sounds like it was coming straight from the PNP headquarters, and not from a civil society group. But if you're a civil society group, and the government is coming with a bill, and you have any form of critique towards that bill, you critique the bill. But in your critique of that bill, you don't go ahead and say, you think the government should support the opposition, lead a position. You don't do that. The moment you do that, you put your organization in a political stance and put your organization to get some form of rebuttal now and to answer some form of question as to why not keep it balanced as media like to talk about and critique the government, yes, and agree, but don't come out publicly and say the government should agree with the opposition leader stance. The moment you do that, JFJ, you remove the credibility of your organization, you damage the speech that you just presented, you politicize the speech that you just made, and we don't want to hear nothing from JFJ because JFJ by right is Jamaican for justice. No form of justice is being breached in this bill. So Jamaican for justice they need to stick to their aim and their mission, and this is the reason why they are out of funding, because the things that you guys should be focusing on, you guys are all over the place focusing on the things that you guys have no form of jurisdiction over or any form of merit over. Go, look at so many injustice being happening. Even one PNP organization, there's the females getting beaten and stuff like that, females being unalive. Go seek some form of justice there. But the politicize them statement and they blunder big time. Once again, JFJ, show them on.
Okay. Joshua is over on YouTube. Joshua?
Greetings, sir. How are you?
Yeah, man. Great. Joshua, you have been listening. I'm sure there are some thoughts in your mind.
Sure. Greetings to everyone on TikTok, on YouTube, and wherever you are listening to this program, whether it be now or later on. Say that I'm highly disappointed, though not surprised at the PNP's approach. And the reason I'm so disappointed because even though the PNP has a track record of not supporting good governance, and anything that is forward thinking and for the greater good of Jamaica. I would hope that at least for the purposes of saving face and at least being on the right side of history, they would have at least put aside all of those, especially that negative track record, to support such a bill as this. As has been reiterated several times, NaRRA is the most consequential bill that Jamaica will ever see. The PM, when he was first elected, lamented the slow pace of bureaucracy in Jamaica. And now more than ever, that was before we had disasters that took away over 60% of our GDP. So if it was slow then, when we never had to rebuild anything while still keeping our eyes on our 2030 goals and objectives, any form of delay now will be even far more consequential, not in a good way, right? And it will damage Jamaica's ability to recover um, as quickly as we would like to. And so I thought that the PNP, especially under Mark Golding, who mentioned that he's an integrity czar, would at least demonstrate some level of integrity by saying, I have lied before, I've accused the Prime Minister unnecessarily before to try and become Prime Minister of the country. I've lied about where I was born, my citizenship, and about whether or not I have a foreign passport. Let me do right by the Jamaican people, at least for once. He spoke about 400,000 persons that voted for him. I think it's time for him to represent those 400,000 persons well now and the rest of Jamaica that he would like to be Prime Minister over. So let them understand that though I mentioned the 400,000 before, I have the rest of you in mind. And if it's even for face saving purposes, I'm going to act prime ministerial, even though I'm not. Even though I was called that in a foreign land and I absorbed it and pretended like I was. I'm going to, now is the time for me to act prime ministerial because that is what I want to achieve. And the best way to act prime ministerial is not to be called prime minister when you're not, but rather to have the best interests of the entire nation and the rebuilding efforts at hand. I noticed Philip Paulwell did something, and I think all of Jamaica need to look at it, and the PNP themselves need to question what is it that they want to do. The PNP has always found themselves, as I stated before, on the wrong side because Philip Paulwell got up in Parliament and he thanked JPS for the speedy recovery or the speedy restoration of light and electricity throughout the country. What the PNP seem to have forgotten is that they were the same ones who objected to the $150 million that was loaned to JPS to achieve this very objective that they are now getting up and appearing as if they were on board from day one. Now that it has blown up in their faces, I believe that the PNP needs to look back and said, it didn't look good on us then when we objected to this. Why can't we just slide along with this and at least begin to look good in the process? As it relates to the so-called civil society groups, we know what Alun Ndombe Asamba said, the former Minister of Tourism under the PNP. She said we form some civic groups and civil society groups, but we attack them with PNP because we have an agenda. And now we're seeing the agenda being played out with Michael Jackson of JFJ, who's a known comrade. And we don't know much about Jet, but the mere fact that they have a joint press conference, what it says to me is that the PNP's agenda is at work. Not Jamaica's agenda on the front burner, but the PNP agenda. The PNP also spoke about with Isaac Buchanan about taking the government to court. And there's something that I want to say because I did a quick research. And one other thing I found out, and I think the PNP need to be called out for this, is that every time that the government is taken to court, it costs the taxpayers.
Yes.
Yes. It is the government that pays for it, whether they win, lose, or draw. It is the government's purse, taxpayers' money.
Thank you, Kay.
And the PNP has developed a habit of uselessly using the taxpayers' money, which is really a misuse. And I'm saying to Isaac, who wants his name to be etched in the annals of history, who spent 8 years out of a 10-year sentence for being a courier of things that he shouldn't have been, whom the Jamaican people have allowed to sit in our parliament, to be the people's representative. You have another chance to make it right by Jamaica. And now is the time to do so. Do not waste the Jamaican taxpayers' money. Do not waste time. I heard the lady from Jet spoke earlier, and I need to go back, that perhaps it could be on an interview on Nationwide with Tyrone. And one of the things that she alluded to was that it could have, in a nutshell, and I'm just paraphrasing, that, if the delay is needed, it should be done and wait another 6 weeks in essence. Another 6 weeks from now, that's June. That's 6 weeks of a person who don't have their own home. That is going to be added to the entire construction process of getting their lives back in order. That's 6 weeks of the reconstruction effort being delayed so that Jamaica can achieve its objective of getting back in the act of building Jamaica and beginning the rebuilding process. That's 6 weeks of missing our mark for the 2030 deadline that we have in making Jamaica a first world country. That's 6 weeks in terms of earnings that we could have earned. And not just the country earning, but people who would have been employed as a result of NaRRA. That's 6 more weeks of stress and pain for those who are uncertain what their next step will be. I'm appealing to the PNP. I'm appealing to the rest of those who are on the PNP bandwagon also, to say to them, do not drag Jamaica through this. Our country has been through a lot. We have lost GDP in the 70s, 25% of our GDP. We lost GDP through several hurricanes. We lost GDP through FinSAC, which is 40% of GDP, and over 44,000 businesses going under as a result of poor decision making on the PNP. And now we have lost GDP again as a result of Melissa. Jamaica cannot take another one through undue delay.
On the matter of expediency,
yes, sir.
Good night.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
As consequential as this bill is, right? Put into perspective for me, the magnitude of it, meaning it is not a new idea because we've seen Japan done it between initiating from 2012 regarding Reconstruction Agency. We've seen New Zealand, and these are first world countries. New Zealand did it regarding the Canterbury earthquake, right? They created what they call the CERA, or CERA rather, Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority. We've seen even the US coming up with FEMA for Federal Emergency Management Agency, and even Nepal to fast track things, right? So it's not a new idea. in terms of
No.
to speed things up.
No.
Explore for me why it is not something that Jamaica should be employing. It may be the first for this small member state or any small member state of this magnitude. But put into perspective for me what that means for Jamaica in comparison to what it meant for these countries who established this long before we did.
Right. So the first response that I will give, it's first and foremost a return to normalcy. And then secondly, it is a catalyst for growth. First and foremost, a return to normalcy. All right. Now, why do we say normalcy? Because people's lives have been disrupted by this massive disaster that we face. People's lives has been, people have been scattered, families have been scattered. I'm sure without the data that persons are staying with other family, instead of staying where they normally would have stayed. In addition to that, it is also an opportunity for us, that smart city objective that we have, to finally get it right. Yes, it is in the face of a disaster, but for us to organize ourselves properly as part of the rebuilding process, not just to operate by the same way that we normally would have, to just build willy-nilly without proper planning, but it's an opportunity to begin to do that. And also, so whether it be school zonings, whether it be preempting through data or tabulating through data, traffic flow, water usage, electricity usages, and all of these things that are needed in a smart city. It's an opportunity for us to create these things and to have a more organized life, to not use fuel unnecessarily, and also to ease stress, one, on the public service, and two, in people's personal lives. So with NaRRA, with the advent of NaRRA, it gives a certain focus, and it gives the government a strategic way to get it done, and not just get it done, but to get it done quickly. Notice that what it has done, if you read up on the bill a little, it has pulled the most critical agencies under one umbrella. Why is that necessary? Because with the prime minister being the person who gives oversight or is reported to, sorry, the person who is reported to and it's in his office, as opposed to these respective agencies having meetings and each of them having meetings and then to return and update the prime minister, and then the prime minister gives his feedback, and then they have to go back to meeting to get it done, and and pull the resources to get it done. But the prime minister, with this being in the prime minister's office, he will be part of those meetings.
Centralized focus.
Centralized focus. So what it does, it saves a lot of red tape, and it gets people's lives back to normal quickly. I can't emphasize it too much. Get people's lives back to normal quickly, and not just back to normal, but the new normal, which is a prosperous Jamaica. A lot of you young people who are listening, and a lot of older persons who are looking forward to retirement, it's an opportunity for that goal that you have in terms of wealth creation for yourself, and the older persons who were looking forward towards retirement.
A little bit of break. A little bit of break
Is
there.
on track,
Uh-huh.
right? Sorry. To get back their lives on track, and as a result of that, can now focus on what they have started doing and building on top of that.
Okay.
And I'm saying
Let's
Jamaica.
hop over. Sorry, Joshua. Let's hop over there
Sorry.
to back to TikTok and pick up Protecting Jamaica. Good evening to you, Protecting.
Good evening, neighbor. Scratchy, Harry, Caroline, listeners,
YouTube,
TikTok.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. Crunch time, Protecting Jamaica. Now or never. What do you expect coming out of tomorrow, having assessed all that happened today, all the discussions, the government side, the opposition side, the civic society groups? what are you expecting come tomorrow?
Well, what I expected today happened today.
Yes.
The politics of the PNP shown today, where they got all the groups to pile on some more pressure on the government. That's just raw politics. I think my government is smart, and I think they have been listening. So what I expect tomorrow morning, should have started tonight, I don't see nothing yet, but what I'm expecting tomorrow morning, going all the way up to the midday news, is to roll out some political communication, maybe 1 or 2 ads, putting the members of parliament of those 5 parishes who are PMP under pressure. No, I don't expect much of the PMP. You know. There was one reasonable politician who was left on the PMP side leading up to the 2025 election, Philip Palwell. But we realized before the election that Philip Palwell seemed to have sold his birthright, because all of a sudden now he became Mark Golding's lapdog. But the pressure can still be mounted on a few from the West. For example, Dayton Campbell has a lot to lose. So if you pile on some pressure on him preemptively tomorrow, then you might get his vote. Ian Hales is in a spot of bother. Not as bad as Dwayne Vaz. So as you mentioned earlier, I think it was Scratchy, that between the leaders of the parliament, leader of government business, leader of opposition business, there should be some discussion for the entire week, last week up until this point. Unless some pressure is piled onto a few of these MPs from the West on the PMP side, we're not going to see the needle moving much.
But how would they explain that though, protecting? How would they vote against their party? I mean, Isaac Buchanan is clearly saying that it's a unanimous.
But that is the point.
Unanimous nay.
Dayton Campbell has a lot to lose. Dayton Campbell constituency mash up. So you either delayed for 2 years, 6 weeks, or however you want to put it. He will. Right now, Mark Golding and Dayton Campbell don't have no relationship. So Dayton might break rank. So I'm looking to Dayton. Ian Hales is an idiot. So he might hold out. Plus, Western and over, not damage that bad as Eastern and Central. Dwayne Vaz might be able to be reached. Except those 2 neighbors, there is no breaking from the People's National Party.
But we don't really need them vote for the bill pass.
No, you don't need them vote for the bill to pass, my brother.
Yeah, but protect him.
You need them vote for the politics of the thing.
Protect him. Them do that said way. Them can't, them not a court of the problem, you know. When them Mark Golding want to take it to the court, see, we know them man, they can't stop it.
Again, you need their votes for the politics. Again, what the government should have been doing once they left Parliament on Tuesday is to have the party communicate politically to the people up until today or tomorrow. They did not do that. We allowed the space, we ceded the space politically to the groups that support the PMP and to the PMP.
No, because
the right statement.
But protecting I might be that what the government don't do it. Maybe the government wants. This government have a thing where from government standpoint they don't like politicize certain things. The government knows that. The government protecting.
Politics already.
Yeah, but protecting. The government have to know. The government know them at the same way. The government don't want to politicize it to a certain level. The government understand. The government knows that. If you have attack, say you have attack Julika Jess. Anybody in the constituents who agree with it or people who support her, the PNP are fully aligned and now go against whatever their leadership percent.
Scratchy, as I have shared with you guys before, I operate at the highest level of politics in the United States. When you have a sensitive bill, we are going to cause problem. You activate your local political machinery. What you talking about, brother? The government needs cover. A politics make government, so therefore politics has to keep government.
Yeah, but in terms of this bill, in terms of the passing of this bill, it's a legal problem and the problem right here, so. And political, listen up, political pressure, our political opinion, they determine legal outcome. And the legal outcome, this is the problem the government face, the legal outcome. Political pressure can't stop that.
Let me complete the point I was making. Once you get the citizenry to buy in, only the politics can get the citizenry to buy in. Me no mean you go jump on van back with vehicle drive around with Labour Party. I don't mean that. The politics has its. You see, a part of the problem in our country is that we take politics for some little washed up, crosses, nasty situation. That's what we take politics for. Politics is not no washed up, nasty sitting. Politics is I am communicating your party's policy to you so you can understand it from us. Because if we don't communicate it to you so you can understand it from us, we're leaving the space to the others for them to communicate it to you and you're going to understand it from their perspective. That's politics, my brother.
Yes. But if I don't need no PNP, the government currently don't need no PNP for pass the bill. The government can pass the bill with the majority that they have.
Political strategy doesn't only include needing the opposition's vote. Political strategy is also backing them into a corner, leaving them no choice than to either shut them out and make no other negative sound on the bill or support the bill as it is. It's a strategy too, my brother.
We are getting that, and then people are not turning against it. If you protecting come out and a curse against the bill, all it's going to hurt Mark Golden, and Mark Golden knows he's a leader, right?
I am not debating against you, Scratchy. I am making the point from my perspective, understanding the politics from the point I understand it. That when you communicate to the people of Jamaica, any communication is going to be we against them. Dress up in a suit and a practice government is not government, because the same minister or the prime minister has to remember that it is the people who actively participated in establishing the government. Therefore, it is the people who you need to go to keep the government. And I will not back off of that. I practice politics at the highest level where I am. I know the ins and outs. The local political organization has to be activated. You have to have town hall and the people them, Right now, we should have some super. I plan to establish a super PAC for Jamaica. Me plan to establish a super PAC. We should have some super PAC and run some either social media or radio ads right now that says, who is supporting you getting back your house and your roof? The current government. Who is not supporting you getting back your house and your roofs and getting back your life in order? The opposition. And once you do that long enough and effective enough, the people now will start turn to them and telling them to back off. So we don't need the opposition for a vote to pass the bill. We need the politics for the people, because guess what? The politics creates a perception. Politics is perception. It don't matter if you have government or not. The people need to know how our people respond to politics in Jamaica. For majority of our people who participate in the politics of Jamaica, it's sensationalism. We behave like we people are mature because we live in a some first world country and we see mature involvement and participation in the politics. We are trying to say, oh, Jamaica is so mature. Let us face the facts. Our people are not that mature politically. So the only way you can reach them is to message to them the way they know how. How do you get them so easily? for just warm up to the politics when the election come. You go which part them there. You talk to them in a for them language. You engage them. I think, neighbor, that the Jamaica Labour Party realized, because we have been talking about this for a while. In Era Council 3 over the weekend,
yes,
they had an Era Council 3 meeting.
Uh-huh.
And they have voted to support the bill. I was thinking that they should have taken it a little bit further, because the Era Council, people are just made up of the delegates and the hierarchy of the party, and especially the hierarchy of the Era Council. You know, you could have get the entire Era Council together and have them not just ratify the bill or the support of the bill. Get them together, get the people together and the wider delegates and the wider communities, and let them understand what the bill is about. But guess what now? Area Council 3 is St. Ann, Clarendon and Manchester.
Yes.
The real meat of the matter in our Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth and Hanover. What are we doing? It look like we are jump scotch and play upscotch around the issue. The issue in our Westmoreland. Go to the people in our Westmoreland and go talk with them.
Yes.
That is the situation. And once you communicate to the people that, listen me, this is your bill. This is why we are doing it. Oh, so all of a sudden, we don't think we can talk to the people. Me not think we think so we're better than the people until 3 years' time or 4 years' time. But we need to consider what we are doing. While we do not need the opposition, we need to play the politics. The opposition don't need us. They are play for them politics and they are effective in what they are doing. They are effective in what they are doing. Is there anything great about the PNP? No. Did Mark Golding do anything great leading up to the last election? No. But what did they do? They spent time on the ground going around the country and they repeat the lies so often that the people start believing it. So they get 14 more seats. Whether it was a by-election simultaneously happening with the general election, them get 14 more. The politics is the politics. We cannot deny the politics and we cannot hide away from the politics. Tomorrow morning, I should be waking up to 1 or 2 political ads on social media. Tomorrow morning, I should be waking up, starting the day. The communicators to the Jamaican Labour Party need to depend on all of the radio program, them go right up to midday news. Because again, the perception that is created affect the mind. We can either affect the mind positively or negatively. When you speak to people, you change their mood, you change their thinking, and that is what it is about.
Yeah, absolutely. But Scratchy, let me come back to you a little. The bottom line here, Scratchy, is that the people are waiting for help, and there are even people as we speak who are in shelters now, Scratchy. 6 months after the hurricane, there are people still in shelters. Scratchy, whatever we say, the fact of the matter is that there is some urgency that is needed here. And if the government don't step on this and get it through and start providing some assistance to a lot of these people, they could suffer politically too, Scratchy.
Definitely, neighbor. That is why the government, neighbor, is coming with NaRRA. The government knows, neighbor, how important it is, neighbor, to get back these people's lives on track. The government understand, neighbor, what these persons are going through, neighbor. The government understand these persons' everyday life, neighbor. The government, neighbor, formulated, conceptualized a program called NaRRA. Based after looking, neighbor, at the current extent of our legal system, mainly our procurement system, neighbor. The government said that, neighbor, that based on the speed that is needed, neighbor, as a result of Hurricane Melissa, based on the advancement that is needed as well, neighbor, the current legislation surrounding procurement, neighbor, cannot match or cannot, neighbor, advance or cannot help in that speediness that is needed to develop the part of the section of the country, neighbor, that needs development. So what the government did, neighbor, is the government didn't went, neighbor, and tried to say, okay, we're going to impose our emergency powers, because the government have emergency powers at its disposal that it can use, neighbor, to build school, build bridges, build roads, same way. The government, neighbor, So we're not going to use this emergency power because the government understands, neighbor, that for you to declare a national emergency, neighbor, something cannot be an emergency over an extended period of time.
Yes.
You understand me? That emergency, neighbor, must be within a short period of time. So what the government did, neighbor, was saw it fit to come with some form of legislation in the form of NaRRA. So, all right, we're going to use this legislation not to bypass not to totally bypass or eradicate procurement guidelines, neighbor, but to kind of put it on a level, neighbor, where the current system or the current formalization of the procurement guideline to a certain level, neighbor, it's bypassed, neighbor, just for the sake of speed, but some form of accountability is still there because down the line, neighbor, NaRRA still holding the form of responsibility of any other body of its kind. They still have to report to the PSC, the Auditor General, still have a major role in investigating the auditor transaction of NaRRA and stuff like that, neighbor. So I don't see why, neighbor, it is being fight down to the level I explained earlier. Why it is being fight down to that level that it is being fight at, neighbor, because how important this bill is, the changes that this bill is to come with, neighbor. And one of the things, neighbor, with the People's National Party, neighbor, that they're very good at, neighbor, is always seeing things from a political standpoint. Whatever is introduced to Jamaica, neighbor, the PNP tend to look at it first as what political mileage we can gain from this, or what type of political loss we can gain for this. And PNP, neighbor, they know that, neighbor, with the advancement of Jamaica, neighbor, they will definitely have some form of political loss. Because one of the key components of NaRRA, neighbor, in the form of a legislation, is that a lot of these communities that we currently have, neighbor, where persons live in riverbeds, persons live in flood-prone area, persons live on the coast of the sea. A lot of these communities, neighbor, NaRRA will be given the power, neighbor, or the authority, neighbor, to declare these places null and void, neighbor, in terms of living condition and where persons cannot build. So a lot of these persons, neighbor, will be removed from these places, neighbor, and be placed in places where I don't know exactly right now, but places that is more conducive to residential living. And if you look at the current election, neighbor, from the last election cycle, neighbor, the PNP won a lot of these constituencies, neighbor, by a mere 500, 600, 300, 200 votes, neighbor. And a lot of these communities that are to be replaced or be removed, neighbor, because of their living condition and where they are living, neighbor, in terms of being at first and risk to disaster, neighbor. A lot of these communities strongly support the PNP. And the next point with these communities, neighbor, these communities are very popular. These communities are very popular in terms of condensity, in terms of the amount of persons that live in these communities, neighbor. And the PNP understand, and the PNP know, neighbor, that with their slim majority in a lot of these 14 constituencies or 28 constituencies that they have, neighbor, if they were to lose 300 or 400 votes, neighbor, from these areas, neighbor, it is going to affect PDs, it's going to affect the whole election process, neighbor. And they understand that, neighbor. They don't want to say, okay, yes, despite moving these people, they're going to be in better living condition. They're going to be in more conducive living condition, neighbor. They rather, neighbor, the only thing that they can see is the mere fact, neighbor, that they're going to lose an election. Because, neighbor, the greatest thing or the greatest investment a man can have in life is a house, they say. And if the Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor, through NaRRA, neighbor, reshape, neighbor, how social housing is being distributed across this island, neighbor, how persons living condition improvement of persons living condition, neighbor, I can tell you, neighbor, that the Mike and Manley, that the PNP like to boast about housing, and this, neighbor, Mike and Manley will be eradicated from the history books, neighbor. Andrew Michael Holness, neighbor, will be the most talked about Prime Minister in Jamaica for the next 50 years going forward as a result of NaRRA. But Andrew Holness, neighbor, is not selfishly, neighbor, thinking about his conceptualization of NaRRA is not because he wanted to be seen as the golden boy 20 or 50 years ago, neighbor. It's because he can share, neighbor, with dilapidated conditions that citizens are living in, neighbor.
Yeah.
He can share, neighbor, with the constant and the ramp and rundown and of rain. Like, we don't even have a hurricane season, neighbor, for a lot of these areas to flood out, neighbor. This is a result, neighbor, of where these houses are built. They're in riverbeds.
Yes.
And sometimes nature takes back its course. And then people must understand, neighbor, NaRRA is not the silver bullet. NaRRA will not fix a lot of Jamaica problem. But I can tell you, neighbor, Jamaica suffer from social decay.
Yes.
Jamaica suffer from infrastructure development, neighbor. And NaRRA is the largest project in the history of Jamaica, neighbor, that has to do with the development of Jamaica. And we need, especially rural Jamaica, neighbor, not just the areas, and this NaRRA is not just limited to areas who suffered as a result of Hurricane Melissa, neighbor. NaRRA is broad. NaRRA is white, neighbor, and
As a little break in Scratchy's transmission there. Are you there, Scratchy? No. Hello? Didn't hear him at all. Harry?
Yes, neighbor.
Harry, how is the PNP looking at this time? You are in Jamaica, and you have your ears to the ground. Based on the civic society groups that virtually came out today and said, even tacitly, we are supporting the opposition. How do you think the PNP is looking now on the ground, Harry, as they gear up to go to Parliament tomorrow? What do you think the perception about them is?
Well, for many persons, neighbor, the People's National Party is coming off now as, not looking to advance Jamaica, not unified themselves, and just looking to thwart the very potential legislation that will be driving Jamaica going forward. Now, that in itself as well, neighbor, is one in which the very groups that they think are going to fully back them will run out of some level of relevance. And as such, with the People's National Party right now, neighbor, they're coming off for those who are undecided, let me put it that way, not the ones who have driven party lines, but for those who are looking from the outside in and looking to make a decision in the next several years to come. They're viewing the People's National Party now as one who is against growth or anti-growth, anti-development for Jamaica, right? And what that looks like is, if it's not the People's National Party doing it, then it should not be done. And that deters people, especially those who may want to be a part of our governance, and to go to the ballot boxes, coming 4.5 years' time. It deters these people who want to see Jamaica thrive again, who want to be a part of the process, because they're seeing it to say, this is a checkmate move for Jamaica for the first time in probably 4 decades or a little bit longer. And to see the quote unquote the alternative government, right? I know some people don't like when I use that terminology, but let's leave them as alternative. To see that the alternative government is anti-Jamaica, because persons looking from the diaspora who want to come back, who is seeing the improvement, who have shown appreciation, neighbor, for what we've achieved over the last decade, and to see that this NaRRA bill to be legislation can be that catalyst, can be that movement to attract our very diaspora to come back home even more, to be a part of not just brand Jamaica, but to build Jamaica, not through remittances, right? There's so many people from our diaspora neighbor who don't just want to contribute to Jamaica through sending back money to family. They want to be back in Jamaica, because the saying goes, we're not better than yard.
Yes.
But because of what would have happened prior to this administration, being unable to handle crime, lack of development, lack of infrastructure, these things, who very fun in terms of funnily has been thwarted by the opposition who was in government for that 18.5 years, who have also fought tooth and nail, to fight against acts that can actually help us to achieve, for example, crime. It's one of the biggest things, neighbor, and we've seen how the opposition have pride themselves in fighting against the Zosos and those in genuine, when it comes on to genuine approach, right? And this is something the people are seeing again.
Yes.
So it's almost like the opposition have not, they said a leopard can't change their spots, neighbor. And that is what the people, those who are undecided, are seeing again. And that's why I said they're anti-development, anti-Jamaica. Because once you're going against something that can boost Jamaica, you have to be anti-Jamaica, neighbor. You are pro-power and anti-Jamaica, and that speaks volumes as to the extent in which the opposition is willing to go. Joshua spoke about the who will be paying if we go to court and so on. That is also taking away resources from the people, the very people who they want to govern and say they can do a better job. And in this manner, they're still not able to show that they're viable and that they can be, the government that you can trust. Now, people are summing it up as that, neighbor, and it's damning for our governance, right? It is damning as to what Jamaica will become if this NaRRA bill doesn't pass, if Jamaica don't wake up and keep the current administration. Because what you're looking at is one administration or one party that wants to see Jamaica moving. Doesn't matter at what it takes. They'll find innovative ways, such as the NaRRA bill. They'll find other disciplinary measures, whether that is to be fiscally prudent and so on. They will do it to drive Jamaica forward. But on the other hand, there's the opposition who don't want Jamaica move forward if they aren't the one who's driving it. And they have never, and I say this with my chest, with my everything, as I said, beating chest. Man, I beat my chest tonight.
Yes.
Right?
You read a lot, eh?
Exactly, neighbor.
Yeah.
Right? When I look at it, they have never been the party that drive Jamaica forward. And it's a shame that Jamaica is entering into, regardless of the global space and geopolitical affairs, neighbor. This is a time in Jamaica's history where we get another chance, where we have laid the foundation again to push off. We can start block up the house now. We not have a poor foundation again. We not have a mash up foundation if you get it correct because something out of line or the wall where they put up drop down.
Yes.
We've laid a proper foundation. It took a decade to do that, right? And it's going to take another decade, and it's going to take, innovations like this, legislation like this, neighbor, discipline, wholeheartedly take a nation to move and to correct what has been done back then. And this is that second phase where Jamaica has been blessed. This is something you need to make your luck, neighbor. Right? We've been blessed with this administration, with this leader. And we've gotten lucky. Yes, people say we're unlucky with COVID and recession and now Melissa. But there's always a silver lining in it, right?
Yes.
We see where Jamaica is being trusted with $6.7 billion US. No other government, no other country in this, small developing state has ever been trusted with money like that. And this is coming from the very framework of NaRRA. This is what cemented that package. It wasn't because Andrew Holness and his team is just great. There's an oversight to it. There's a framework that has to be built in for the lenders and the donors to trust you with $6.7 billion. They never trust the People's National Party, right? No organization in the history of this world have trust the People's National Party with anything close to that money. But they have seen something in this administration that they can say, let me put my money where my mouth there. Let's help this nation realize their potential once and for all, because we can trust the legislators that are there, the persons in the administration, and more importantly, we trust their judgment wholeheartedly. About $6.7 billion on a chicken feed, as Speaker's Gill would have quoted $30 million. This is big boy money, and big boy money need to be put into areas that brings big boy growth. And the People's National Party is anti that. And Scratchy always said, in order for Jamaica to grow, the People's National Party must go. And I'm saying to every Jamaican listening right now, neighbor, in this case, when I want them to go, I want them to be removed from this bill. I don't want to hear another utterance from them. I want to see the administration go into Parliament tomorrow, get them full 35 vote. Look, if you're sick, you better sick in a Parliament tomorrow because you better vote. Right?
Wow.
That is how serious it is. Neighbor, if I get a stroke.
You are saying that the members of the opposition must vote for the bill.
Neighbor, it is the only way even them can have a chance to be back in parliament again. Because who you think is going to vote for them? Right? When people start to realize what this administration has been able to do, because the catalytical aspect of it in the neighbor is that this has to be done within 3 years.
The what? You will hear that word again?
Right? The catalytical aspect of it, neighbor.
Okay, yes.
Right? It has to be done within 3 years. This money goes back, right? After 3 years. So it simply means that the projects that are coming, right? Major products and the time frame we have.
Yeah.
We don't have time for sit down and a bag of talk and lele. This has to be done and it has to be done now.
Yeah.
And Scratchy said best.
Yeah, you know.
Go ahead, neighbor.
We only have another 30 minutes on the show. So here's what I want to do. I have Harry, I have Protecting, I have Joshua, and I have Scratchy. 4 men that they can take half hour to make a point. But I'm gonna give each of them 5 minutes to make a summation of where we are in terms of this bill and to put forward their suggestion. Now, let me just set the pace as we head towards 10 o'clock. The People's National Party, through Isaac Buchanan, they have issued a threat to litigate the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority bill, NaRRA. And I'm putting it to you that that's a betrayal of the Jamaican people. A Jamaican people who gave the PNP 4 consecutive electoral mandates. And a degree of political loyalty. That's the Jamaican people. A degree of political loyalty that is unmatched in this country. No other political party, not the Jamaica Labour Party, have gotten 4 straight terms. And I think that the weaponizing the court to delay the bill is pathetic. The PNP, if they do that, abandons their duty as opposition. And they convert a national crisis into a partisan strategy. And that is an exposure of a pathetic politics of ingratitude that the party would prioritize their own political survival over the country's recovery. And so as we head to tomorrow, I want my panel to encapsulate their thoughts on the PNP's position, the government's strategy, and most importantly, how the people of Jamaica ought to be responding at this time. Let us start with Joshua. Joshua?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you didn't hear the question?
Yes, I heard it. It's just that I didn't know whether or not you were hearing me.
Okay, I'm here now.
Right. So, again, thank you. You see, the weaponization of NaRRA to stick up the government by the PNP, the best description that I have for it is that it's vile and uncivilized.
It's vile and uncivilized.
Yes. It is vile from the perspective that it has no class to it. It is beastly and dastardly in its nature and how they set about to carry out this act against the people. It's uncivilized because the development of Jamaica is being held at ransom in the name of politics and in the name of one-upmanship. And it should not be allowed to stand by the Jamaican people. Harry earlier mentioned about some persons may ask the question, and it was just part of a broader statement that he made. Why is it that and I'm paraphrasing, that is when the Jamaica Labour Party is in power. I think it's a blessing because had it been any other way, the country would have suffered. So it's really a blessing, and that's the best way to look at it. Um, One of the things that I want us to look at also is Harry mentioned a portion of it, but the other one is that if the multilaterals that loaned us this money can give a thumbs up towards NaRRA to say it's great and they approve of it and gave us kudos for it, why is it that the PNP think that it's such a
You
bad
mean
thing?
that
Is it
akin to the World Bank saying that this disaster recovery was world leading?
right? World leading. So if it's world leading, you want to tell me that these people who have studied economics and finances all their lives, and this is all that they do, and studied countries recovery from disaster, whether it be natural disasters or financial disasters or whatsoever disaster that requires money and plans to get them out of the conditions that they are, knows less than the PNP do, it's just a food for thought. And I, just in case someone may want to put their brains in the wrong direction, I submit to you that the PNP is just posturing and trying to appear as if they're brighter than they really are by taking this position. Now, my final landing point for the night, and I want to say to us that politics has a number of plans to it.
Yes.
It has a strategy, it has the leaders, it has the workers, and it has the people on the ground. In order for you to be effective politically, you have to have a strategy going forward. And politically does not necessarily mean, as protecting says, that you are actually waiting until election and campaigning. No, politically is that you understand how your fortunes will be affected, not just at the polls,
Yes.
but your ability to bring something to the people that they will receive and bring it through the path of least resistance is dependent upon what you do in advance. But in order to do it, you have to plan effectively and you have to strategize and you have to get the workers, those who are going to carry that message involved. This is what the PNP have done. They have mobilized their people.
You think that these civic groups is part of their mobilizing?
Well, I didn't say it, you know. It's a former minister of tourism in their party that said it. That we have partnered them with PNP, the civic group. I would like to say differently. But what I have to say matters very little when they have confessed to it. You notice under the PNP the amount of civic group that popped up during their tenureship. So it wasn't just an idle talk, as my friend Chuck likes to say, is that they said the quiet part out loud. And this
Right.
was never intended to come out. But when you're so filled with pride, it begins to flow out involuntarily. Right? And so I'm admonishing the government because this is so consequential and because this is so needful in getting the agenda of a country and by extension the government forward in order for us to get it out and the people to understand more. Use whatever resources that is at hand, including some of us in this space. Use the churches, visit church youth groups, the ladies' meetings, the young people's meetings, men's meetings, and ask for 10 minutes. That's all you probably need for the time being. It will extend a little further, but if you do your presentation, people have a better understanding and it will leave less room for the PNP to carry a narrative that is not true and thus putting you again and keeping you on the right side of history. It doesn't make sense you have something good to do and you use the hardest route to get it done. As protecting like to say, if you do the hard part up front, then the rest is easy. But if we take the easy part up front, then the hard part will be at the back.
Fantastic. Great hearing from you. Over to you, Protecting.
You hearing me, neighbor?
I am.
There is a certain irony here with this situation, neighbor.
Tell us.
The parishes that have given the PMP power for 18 and a half years, between Hanover, parts of St. James, and Westmoreland, consistently for almost 50 years, are the same parishes ravaged by the hurricane, the same parishes that needs NaRRA more than anywhere else, but they are now represented by the PMP again, who are fighting NaRRA down to the T.
Yes.
There's a certain irony right there. Now, which other meaningful and useful bill brought to the Parliament has the PMP been allowed to strangle down to the ground? Do we remember the government's crime plan started with the state of emergency? They wrestled that down to the ground, carry the government got court 2 times. The government remained relentless. Here we are today. We're experiencing the lowest level of murders and general crimes in 30-odd years. There's another bill I can think of, the NIDS. Jamaica, the only country in the world when I have a national identification system. Very important. The PMP was allowed to wrestle it down to the ground. I know some people in Jamaica cannot trust the NIDS, even though it is something good for us.
Yes.
What am I saying here? If we allow them and sit on one side and kiss with teeth and say, nonsense, man, and we allow them too long to throw mud for NaRRA, we might reach the point where nobody trusts NaRRA and NaRRA is affected by the distrust and the negative that comes from the PMP about it. Now, do we have time for that? While you could just allow the PMP to run it out for 2 years, and for them constituency are going to suffer. So nothing wrong. Them can go tell the constituency say, Andrew do it. They will win back the constituency and we would still remain in government.
Yes.
But Andrew Holness needs to build his legacy. Jamaica needs to develop, which is the bigger picture than just Andrew or the JLP. Jamaica needs to develop. Now we have an opportunity to sensibly, meaningfully, and purposefully develop Jamaica. And we should make sure that we do everything to protect these gains. For the first time in Jamaica's history, we are about to spend almost $2 trillion or over $2 trillion on public infrastructure.
Yes.
That is unheard of in Jamaica. A matter of fact, that is unheard of in the Caribbean. $2 trillion for infrastructure. Where else? And the People's National Party knows this. And they know that politically, this will be the death knell that finally gets rid of them. As of such, they are rolling out and they are pulling out all the stops to ensure that them cast as many doubt, as many positions of doubt is established as are possible, and as much mud as is possible, them sling on it. Because the operation is to create doubt in NaRRA. And then once you create doubt in NaRRA, then NaRRA does not get off the ground. And once NaRRA cannot get off the ground, then public infrastructure will not be improved. Once public infrastructure is not improved, then JLP get no praise for this thing that could have been glorious. And who would be the cause of it if that is done? The same JLP who needs it to be done. Why? Because they would have just stand by and give the PMP the space to run rings around them as they have been doing. Now, while we do not need the PMP to pass the bill, the perception to be created out there that it's a good thing and that it's really going to help the people them who can't think for themselves. There needs to be some semblance of unity as we move forward, which will require at least one member on the opposition benches to support the bill. There was also JD. Them fight it down to the ground. But JD came to life. Yes, we allowed them. I don't know how the JLP is so gracious to give so much latitude to the PMP. Fist spread lies, which is very evil in our country. We are at a crossroads. It's a very important crossroads. The Jamaica Labour Party government needs to decide. Do we protect our government? Or do we allow the PMP to act like they are the government? In protection of the government, the political apparatus needs to be active. I will not resile from that. I know that to be the most potent way to protect any government. The local political machinery needs to remain active. And as I said before, I don't mean if you go jump and hang off a bus and drive around and truck back and hang out a car. I mean, in a mature way, have community meetings, discussions to flesh out understanding among the people who are already struggling with their marginal education and the lack of comprehension. And we need to reach them, and this is the only way we can be effective. Neighbor, the politics can be easier, for the JLP, Just imagine the JLP is the best governments ever. Farm the best governments ever. Just imagine they were better at politicking. They're not about smart politicking and mature politicking. They're not about public bluster and telling lies. Establish and re-establish your community political organizations. Keep them active. And in doing so, then there will always be a soft landing for anything that the government wants to do, because the people's minds would have been prepared locally to already receive anything the government is doing, because the political organization on the ground would already make the people know that these things are being done to your benefit. You may not see how now, but I promise you it is to your benefit. And once you approach it like that, then I bet you the government will be protected for a long time and remain in power to continue the development of Jamaica, and Jamaica will be better for it. Right here, this situation is going to show who are true patriots.
Yeah.
Jamaica needs patriotism right now, and I am looking forward to see what Dayton Campbell is going to do tomorrow.
Yes.
Dayton Campbell especially.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Fantastic, and such a day tomorrow in our history. Harry.
Yes, neighbor.
Suing your way out of relevance. The PNP is taking our reconstruction to court. How it look as you wrap?
Well, in a nutshell, neighbor, it just shows again. It's party first and people last. It's not even people second. Party first, people last, neighbor. It signifies and should stand out to the people of Jamaica that this party will never put the people first. Doesn't matter how much opportunities nature, luck, and the people have given them. And I put in terms of nature, in terms of Melissa, luck. They've made their luck, quote unquote, and I don't want to leave it at that pretty word, luck. And it is one in which they're reiterating to the people, doesn't matter who the demographic is, they're reiterating to them that we will never change. We will brute force our way to power, or attempt to do so, and we will still treat you, as Andre Horton said, as subjects. Because when you look at the pathway they're choosing to represent in governance, neighbor, it shows that it is all about them. It's all about, what Perry claims to say, who gets what, when, and where. That is what they want. It is, this NaRRA thing is a threat to them because they don't get to dictate who gets what, when, and where. They don't handle the distribution of the resources. And the people of Jamaica know very much what they do when they have this level of resources. And it's outright bad, my neighbor.
It's bad.
It is. They've never been able to get this type of funding, right? It doesn't matter how much years they were in government for, they were never able to get it. And a bad mind, because if you don't get it, you don't want the other party to get it, right? So it is self. In this case, the self is the party, right? The self-interest of the party stands out and comes first at all times, which is why I said it is the party first, people last. And the people of Jamaica, locally, regionally, and overseas in terms of internationally neighbor, needs to wake up and smell the coffee. You don't want a party or an administration, in governance that will go to the end of this world to get their way at the expense of you. And the you is the individual. You, neighbor, me, Caroline, Scratchy, the whole of it. It is at the expense of us. And if it is at the expense of us, it is at the expense of the existence of this little piece of rock we call Jamaica. And that is the level of threat the People's National Party is. To know they are willing to try and take this framework, this system, this machinery that will have a great impact and add real value. The most value in the shortest period of time in Jamaica's history can be added through this bill becoming a legislation, neighbor. And the opposition look at it and say, we're going to use every trick, every weaponry, and every and anything that democracy gives us, right? Because it is not, quote unquote, illegal and wrong that they can go to court with it. But there's a moral underlining and ethical underlining of it that that this is going to be at the expense of the people, and they just don't care. And that's why I say people need to wake up. They say this suing your way to relevance.
Yeah.
It's showing desperation, neighbor.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It is showing that they have no neighbor, there's no trick left in the book. This is the last resort.
Yes.
Right? This is what they deem their Hail Mary. This is what they deem as their Hail Mary. It is do or die right now.
Yeah.
And what we need to understand is because they're so desperate, they are vulnerable. And I hope the administration sees the vulnerabilities and expose it to the demography of the 20-year-olds. I'm going back to what Minister Faval and who she was speaking to. Because they are the ones who will help us get across the line when it comes on to the next 4.5 years from now. But it shows how much this party sees themselves. They almost feel entitled, neighbor.
Yes.
Right?
This is their way to relevance.
It is exactly that, neighbor. And the people need to understand, it's not them suing the government, It's them suing the people against the people's advancement and adding value to the people. That is a threat that they pose. And for me, neighbor, as I come down with it,
yes,
we need to understand that we fight a different fight in this time, right? Back in the days, we used to march, we used to block road, we used to do that. This time, we fight by empowering our people through programs like this and many others, through ensuring you yourself as an individual find information yourself, understand it, form groups if you don't understand it, and put up a proper fight, because you aren't just up against the People's National Party. You're up against the media and every and anything that they have put in, the system they've built before people like myself and Scratchy was born. Right? This is a system that the People's National Party have etched in the culture of Jamaica, and we have to undo it. And you only can undo it through the empowerment of yourselves and coming together to debunk, derail, and demolish every action the People's National Party has taken and is looking to take, neighbor.
Fantastic. Scratchy, you're going to have the final word, but this isn't bad strategy from the party. I think it is disloyal, and the people see it. The people of Jamaica, they are not passive observers. They're active participants in the democratic process. And I think politicians from time to time make that mistake to think that the people are passive observers. Because the people of Jamaica have always known the difference between a party that fights for them and a party that fights to stop things for them. I'm not saying don't criticize NaRRA. I'm not saying don't amend the bill. But don't sue to the death while people are waiting on roofs. That's not opposition. That's an abdication of your responsibility. We can't sue Reconstruction, Scratchy.
Neighbor, definitely can't sue Reconstruction, neighbor. Can't sue advancement, neighbor. Can't sue progress, can't sue prosperity, neighbor. And definitely, neighbor, should not sue the Jamaica Labour Party led by Jamaica alone as the cabinet of this of Jamaica. So what I want to say, neighbor, is that
yes,
I am not concerned, I am not worried, neighbor. I know that the bill can pass, neighbor. It must be known that we don't need one PNP vote for this bill to pass tomorrow, neighbor. What I'm concerned about, neighbor, is the PNP's approach, neighbor.
Yes.
After this bill is passed, neighbor, it will be a real detriment to our country, to be a real detriment to our advancement, to be a real detriment to our development, neighbor. If the PNP, neighbor, should try to bring this bill, neighbor, through the courts or through the legal system of Jamaica, neighbor, as a result, neighbor, of the current state of the bill. I think, neighbor, whatever issue there is with the bill, neighbor, I think it can be settled outside the court of the law. I think it can. I think so. We have 63. Yes, we have 63 members of parliament.
Yes, sir.
All adults, all neighbor suspected to be Jamaicans, neighbor. We just with one of them, one birth in question, neighbor, and one of them. And it is just so shocking, neighbor, that we have 63 members of parliament, neighbor, and is that member of parliament, neighbor, whose birthplace, neighbor, Jamaica, as that person's birthplace is being questioned, neighbor. The integrity, neighbor, is we are afraid that person was born in Jamaica, neighbor, or not. And when I look at that, I'm not someone, neighbor, to talk about race. But when you look at the ethnic background, neighbor, when you look at the ethnic background of even that person's, neighbor, compared to others who sit in our parliament, neighbor, it is a real, neighbor, it is really shocking, neighbor. It is really questionable, neighbor. And it is also very concerning to know that, neighbor, in a time like this, neighbor, towards our advancement, neighbor, is someone who share all of those sentiments, neighbor, is really holding back our advancement, neighbor. We as Jamaican, neighbor, and not just Jamaicans, we as black people, neighbor, we suffer a lot, neighbor.
From the colonial masters.
Yes, neighbor, as Jamaicans, neighbor, we suffer even at the hands, neighbor, of that current country, neighbor, that person is alleged to be birthing, neighbor. Those guys, they enslaved us, neighbor. They robbed us of our glory days, neighbor. 3/4 of the situation of our financial situation that we are in, neighbor, as a result of that particular country that person is alleged to be.
And I would add, Scratchy, that a lot of the problems that we have today, the reason why Jamaica's infrastructure was so badly damaged is because the PNP never fixed it up when they were in power. And them cause it too. And them cause it.
It is very shocking, neighbor, to know that a person, neighbor, this neighbor is holding back our development. Is holding back our advancement, neighbor. Well-thinking Jamaicans, neighbor, need to look deep into this, neighbor. Look at the current leader of the People's National Party. Archer said this man sharing the advancement and the development of Jamaica. You know, Archer said these questions, guys. Look at him. Look how different he look from us. How many of us have a cousin who look like him? How many of us have a nephew who look like him? How many of us fathers look like him? I don't want to go too far, but Jamaica, let's not fall back in those days where we were ruled by the Buckmaster style. And now we see where we have a leader in Jamaica honest neighbor, someone who wants all of us to advance neighbor, all of us to reach our true goals. I would say to Jamaicans neighbor that don't be the house slave. Don't try to be the jungle right here, guys. Just stay focused. Continue to stay steady with this government and continue to know that the PNP is anti-development, the PNP is anti-progress, the PNP has voted down and bring the government to court nearby every single bill, every single thing that has to do with the advancement and the development of Jamaica neighbor. And that is not as a result of just to score political points neighbor. It has a wider effect neighbor. It is the reason why our level of unemployment used to be 13.5% neighbor the People's National Party. When crime was rampant, it was a result of the People's National Party. The highest poverty rate, it was a result of the People's National Party. And as I said, neighbor, everything that the PNP does, we even know with Mark Golden as a leader, neighbor, it is being done or it is being looked at, neighbor, from a political standpoint, neighbor. And you see politics in Jamaica, we must differentiate between our two political organizations. Because politics, neighbor, you could say that the PNP and the JLP were the same. And we have seen where Jamaica wholeness, neighbor, from the Jamaica Labour Party standpoint, neighbor. Because Jamaica Labour Party was an organization that had its flaws, neighbor. But we have seen where Jamaica wholeness, neighbor, has single-handedly changed, neighbor. The Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor, change, yes, they still have the belief, neighbor, the mission statement, but he has advanced it, neighbor, to match the current 2026 that we are in, neighbor. Whilst, neighbor, compared to the People's National Party, neighbor, still, neighbor, with the same mission statement, still with the same development plan, neighbor, still cannot matriculate and move on and understand that this is not 1972, still is in remnants of Mike and Manley, neighbor, still don't realize that this is 2026 and this day and age, neighbor, we put Jamaica first and put our political wish or our political allegiance aside and make that come second. The PNP don't understand, neighbor, that Jamaica has advanced, neighbor, and that is why we are seeing the PNP continue to be left behind. And it is so shocking that we have so many well-thinking Jamaicans, neighbor, who continue to remain silent, neighbor, and don't want to come out and let themselves be vocal, let themselves be heard, neighbor, in regard to this narrative. Neighbor, I don't want this bill to become political. I don't want a political activism towards it in terms of political communities, neighbor, or constituency rising up towards this bill, neighbor, because we know how politics is, neighbor, and politics is not going to help this bill, neighbor, because if this bill should pass, neighbor, and as a result, neighbor, because of the political backing that it was getting, the party itself and the government, neighbor, ironing up its political machine to push this bill, neighbor, when it passed, neighbor, in the development, neighbor, when it's time to move persons from here, neighbor, it's going to look political. It's going to come out political. So we have to make sure, neighbor, that we are clear, neighbor, and make sure that NaRRA is that one bill, neighbor, where we keep free, fair and balanced, and keep the political persuasion away from this bill, neighbor. Because we're seeing where politics has done for us. Politics has not advanced us in any way, shape, or form. And I think NaRRA is so consequential. NaRRA is so important, neighbor, that bipartisan support, neighbor, is definitely needed and would definitely advance this bill. What I would say to the opposition, neighbor, and I don't normally like to keep this as the organization, neighbor, in the form of advice. But for the advancement of Jamaica, neighbor, I will share my 2 cents with them tonight and say that come with amendments that make sense. Come with amendments that the party or the Prime Minister did allude to the fact, neighbor, that the bill is not perfect. So I know, neighbor, with a talk like that, the Prime Minister is open, neighbor, to anything that makes sense, neighbor, towards the advancement of NaRRA. So I will ask the opposition, neighbor, just come with things that make sense tomorrow so that we can pass this bill in the best interest of Jamaica. And Jamaica Labour Party supporters, don't be foolish, guys. Don't talk about you don't want this or you don't want that. Guys, this is not the first bill that is going to be amended. From the time PNP was in power, they accepted amendment from the Jamaica Labour Party towards the bill that had been passed in the past. So nothing is wrong if an amendment is taken from their side to deal with the advancement of the bill. This is not a JLP or a PNP thing. This is for the advancement of Jamaica. This is a government and opposition thing. And I think maybe that the opposition is negotiating from a political standpoint where politics don't have no talk or shape or form in this discussion. It is a professional discussion. It is one that has to do with the advancement. And I would love to see both political parties tomorrow, neighbor, for the benefit of Jamaica, come together and pass this bill with bipartisan support. Whatever amendments need to be made, we sit down like real big people and we'll fix this and move forward. And I'm going to ask tomorrow that no less a person than Mark Jefferson Golding, neighbor, whose country of birth is in question, neighbor, who does not share the same ethnic group as majority of us Jamaicans. Please, sir, remove yourself, sir, from blocking our progress and our advancement, sir. A lot of us don't hold any passport in the country where the Jamaicans can.
Oh, gosh.
Mark Jefferson Golding, please, sir, allow tomorrow Jamaica to advance. Allow Dayton Campbell, who was crying and wanted his constituency to declare as the epicenter, as ground zero. Mr. Dayton Campbell, I hope you let your conscience tomorrow and talk to your leader and tell him that you face your ground zero in the origin,
Yes.
and you want the help that NaRRA has to give. Doing Val, you look at again, it's a year and eel. Yes. Who love to ball and talk about money. This is your time now, Zuluka. Just for $3 trillion Jamaican dollar will be spent.
Yes, sir.
Tell Mark Jefferson going to remove himself, Zuluka. This spiritual down there when people can't
Yes,
get
sir.
panties and underwear.
Hold on.
When the people can't get panties and underwear.
Yes.
Remove use on the conscience tomorrow and don't let Mark Golding block the advancement of Jamaica. Vote with your conscience tomorrow on the bill. And don't just vote tomorrow with your conscience. After the bill, any move that will be made by the PNP Secretariat, try the best to cool it, to squash it, and tell Mark Golding to take away himself and don't block our advancement. Because Nikisha Bertel, I guarantee you don't have nowhere else to go but down a Maroon Town and wherever you come from. Don't let Mark trick on you tomorrow.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh. Bakra Master. I tell you.
Oh, gosh.
Move yourself, Bakra.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. Let's go to the comments from YouTube. Harry, how you doing, sir? Let's see what's happening over YouTube. What is it that our listeners are saying?
Give me a second.
Okay. Okay, guys. We're gonna go to the comments from our YouTubers as we are 9 minutes after 10 o'clock and 9 minutes after 11 o'clock in Florida. Bakra Master, move out of the way. That is so funny.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh. I tell you. Let's jump over to YouTube and see what they're saying over there. Waiting on Master Harold to wow. Harold,
Yes, neighbor.
in the comments over there on YouTube. We've lost Harry. Okay, we've lost Harry. Big up Jam Link. How you doing, sir? By the way, Sheffreen, we've lost Harry. Can you come in and let me hear what the YouTubers are saying? Sheffreen?
Absolutely, neighbor.
Yes, please. Go ahead. Let me see if I can get my earphone. Go ahead.
Yes. So first, I want to big up all the persons who send us super chats.
Well,
thank you.
Did we get any of those tonight? Did they supporting that?
We did. Thank you, KCKC. Big up to you. Thank you, Miss Caroline, moderator.
Which Caroline?
Thank you Caroline? Our Caroline.
Our Caroline?
Yes, our Caroline.
What's that?
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And KCKC.
Huh?
KCKC said, Jamaicans want everything but grateful for nothing. Who did this to us?
We're not able to hear what Shafreen is saying.
Oh, if I plug this in. Okay.
You hear me, neighbor?
Yes, I'm hearing you now, Harry.
How is my sound now?
How is
I'm
she now? All right.
not hearing Caroline.
Are you ready for me, Harry?
YouTube, if my sound is good, type 1 in the chat.
We're hearing you, Sheffrey. We're hearing you.
Excellent.
I'm not sure if Caroline and the TikTok family is hearing us though.
Oh, I see. All right, so Casey.
Go ahead. We are hearing you.
Oh, excellent. Thanks, Caroline. Casey said, Jamaicans want everything but grateful for nothing. Who did this to us? Mark Golden, stop us becoming a republic and think the king is head of state.
Oh.
100% Casey.
Casey, thank you for that. Yeah. Anyone, Harry?
Oh yes, neighbor.
Go ahead.
We have here Real McCoy Original 5936. Says the JLP can't allow another hurricane season to come and people still in shelters. Pass the damn bill.
Pass the what bill?
Pass the damn bill, neighbor. You know the song is a pass the coachy. This person want pass the bill.
Pass the bill. Well, I tell you, Bakra. Yeah. What is the caller's name?
That's Real McCoy Original 5936.
Real McCoy, big up yourself, sir. Go ahead. Any more?
We have a whole lot here, neighbor. We have here from Winston Stevens 6044. Saying the PNP is Jamaica's biggest problem forever, especially from 1972 with Mike and Manley and his group of elites. The highways development was passed in Parliament from 1968 by JLP. With budget, PNP killed it.
Oh my! Wow!
We're seeing here as well, neighbor. From I think this is Keisha CL. Oh, she was advising, the people to like, share, and subscribe, with our friends and family.
Thank you,
because
Keisha.
Of course, we need the information to go wide and far.
Yes.
I'm seeing here as well Judith Graham. I saw a few. Judith Graham 5815. And I saw a few MP on social media putting out their own posts that no oversight committee, no bill. That is interesting, neighbor. I wish Judith could.
MPs are on social media putting that out.
I want to ask Judith, neighbor, if she could, possibly give us an idea who these MPs are. Let us take a look. Whether she wants to come up on YouTube or TikTok. Because this is breaking news, neighbor. Because I never know that.
It is. Wow. I wonder who those are.
I'm seeing here as well. Lifestyle politics. She was responding to Damsel. And also court go. The things will be in place already, and worse if things start, PNP will just be trying. But the people will see that they are fighting against them.
Wow. Fantastic.
And we have here lifestyle politics coming in again, man. She's bringing up a revolution, neighbor.
Yeah.
It says NaRRA for the people, and that's filled with exclamation marks,
Yes.
The people want NaRRA. Hospitals, roads, water, police station, fire station, airports, new communities, and there's a hashtag support NaRRA.
That's right.
We might have to run with that, neighbor. If our politician said run with it.
By the way, did you get 1,000 subscribers over there today?
We did, neighbor. We did. But
congratulations.
Big things, neighbor. Big things. We have big deal. We have big deal. We're not on the KFC menu.
Well, yeah, you buy a 3-piece. Buy a 3-piece, man.
Neighbor, I'll buy the 3-piece if you're coming at the 3-piece suit.
Manny, come on. I can't do that. Well, yes, I'll do that. Okay. Well, fantastic. All right, let's take one or two more of the comments from YouTube.
Oh, so we have here neighbor, the special chat, as I like to call them. I'm seeing here KC5383 saying Jamaicans want everything but grateful for nothing. I think this was the one that Shefreen was reading.
Yes.
Right. I'm also seeing here. Oh, it was KC, yes. Let me see. I think I see somebody else just came up. Jamaica 2341 saying neighbor look PMP is only running up their mouth. Look at the Prime Minister wholeness. It's not even look at them. NaRRA will be passed tomorrow. I'm also seeing Jem U6R saying NaRRA for the people and the shower finger sign neighbor. Full of shower sign over here, 5 of them, one for every day of the week.
Wow.
Excluding the weekend. And one final one neighbor. This one is for Scratchy. Melody Cook. I3Z saying, Scratchy, I'm with you on the NaRRA bill. So echoing the sentiments of Scratchy, I want to say to Melody Cook, you probably will have to say it in a raspberry voice.
Yes, that's great.
But Caroline, how is it over there with the TikTok family? Have any comments over there? No read any if they're saying are not coming over here.
Of course, Harry, before you go, please allow me. Good evening, everyone, YouTube and TikTok. My name is Caroline. I'm your moderator, and they call me your manager as well. I just want to say a big thank you to our new YouTube family. Thank you so much for your support. But I must let you all know that this would not be possible without our TikTok family. Our TikTok family, you have made this a reality, and we are so grateful. We appreciate you very much. And neighbor, I'm just lost for words. I did not expect this kind of response. And I am just saying that, congrats to Shefreen. Shefreen, you are a godsend. Harry, Scratchy, neighbor. And I just want to say a big thank you to all the people, all our analysts, Protecting Jamaica, Joshua, Chops Media, Chuck, and everyone that, contribute to making this a reality for us. We're very grateful. Thank you so very much. But a very big special thanks to our TikTok family.
Yeah.
Caroline, you have Poor Man over there with you. Let him give us some fruitful words, huh?
I will arrange that for another day, Harry. Right now, I don't think Power Man is here, but I will make special arrangements for that.
Big up. All right. Let's close out then, Harry. Been a long day. We were on at 11 o'clock this morning, and we're going to be back here tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. So let's close out YouTube, and then I'll close out TikTok. Over to you.
Okay, neighbor. Like every other night, tonight is a little bit special. We've hit the 1,000 subscriber mark. It's a landmark, and we have a lot more to go. We appreciate it, YouTubers. Of course, a lot of persons come over from TikTok, and we're happy for that. Couldn't have done it without you. Tonight is a special night for us, one we'll never forget. Everybody who added to that 1,000, a big thank you for all those who have watched, and those who have commented, and those who have given to the program tonight. YouTubers, thank you so much. We look to see you guys tomorrow for another 7 p.m. show. Again, tonight is very special. Who knows, we may have a surprise tomorrow, YouTubers. Maybe TikTokers will get a little surprise too, but thanks again, YouTubers. It's been a very good in terms of, production. It's a great day. It's a night. And again, we couldn't have done this without you. And thanks for the next step of the way. We'll see you tomorrow. Bigger, better, brighter. And we build Jamaica through conversations that matter via Politics Plus Network.
Thank you so much, YouTube. All right. Have a great night. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Harry. Thanks for protecting Joshua, Scratchy. Everybody on YouTube, catch you tomorrow, okay?